Testing, are we loud and clear? More. That's not a word. I think we're coming through. Hi, everybody, if we're coming through. Let's see. Do we have sound? Hello, hello, it's time for the show. We're all here and raring to go. More. That's not a word. Sounds like we have sound. There's a little bit of a lag. There we go. Hi. Hi. It's so dark in here. I didn't set the lighting. Let's give everyone a Jesus Jack. Jesus Jack in the chat. There we go. Peace be with you. Praise be. Praise be. What would Jack's symbol be for the hair? Today, everyone, we are talking... Hi, first of all, hi. Hi, hello. How are you? We are talking about... What are we talking about? It's Shanshu in LA. So this is the bi-weekly conversation about... Wow, my brain is just not working. I took a sleep aid last night. It's one of those the dihydramine over-the-counter ones, and I am so drowsy. It has been kicking my butt today. So let's talk about Shanshu in LA. Good way to start, Ian. Jeez. Yeah, so this is the bi-weekly patron hangout for the $5 and up club over on Patreon, and we start out by watching the episode guide and then segue into a conversation with the members over on Patreon who would like to join. There's a 10-person limit, and I forgot to actually put the stream up, or rather put the link to the meeting up. We're doing well today. So hold on. I'm actually going to hide that. And then I'm going to go over here and get the link for the meeting. Oh, that's nice and bright. We actually may leave that up. Put that over there. And then link to the meeting. And I'm posting the link for the Patreon Hangout now. If you are in the chat and would like to join the meeting, and leave that up, put that over there. Oh, and I forgot to mute the meeting. Things are going well. Mixer. Okay, now we're muted. And as you join the meeting, please make sure you mute yourself. Lonnie, you thought I wouldn't notice you, but I did.
Weigh your bucket.
Welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and watch Shanshu in LA is the place to... Never mind. Play. With Shanshu in LA, Angel's redefinition of itself from noir detective case of the week show to character-driven story arc series comes to a close. Shanshu, essentially a part 2 to Blind Date, is mostly concerned with setting up the board for the second season, and there is a lot of foreshadowing here, perhaps to the detriment of some of the character moments which felt a little rushed, but it still makes a satisfying climax to Angel's very experimental first season.
I get visions. We do things a certain way.
Wesley is busy trying to decipher the prophecies of aversion that Angel lifted from Wolfram and Hart in the previous episode.
He sure gets testy when he's translating.
This word is pivotal to what it prophesies about the vampire with a soul.
Minor correction to something I said in the previous episode guide. The prophecy refers to Angel as vampire with a soul, not by name. Our trio gets an unexpected visit from David Nabbit, who I still like, but whose presence generally slows the episode to a crawl.
You fight demons. At any moment, one of them could walk right through that very door.
Although Angel sort of absent-mindedly putting the axe on top of the filing cabinet is a cute little visual image I really like. The mundanity of the supernatural. Speaking of, some lawyers call forth a Voca demon with a rather distracting butt face. Wesley figures out that Shanshu means Angel is going to die.
Angel's going to die?
Oh, anything else?
The demon has come to Earth for some sort of raising that requires the stolen scrolls to be pulled off.
I am summoned for the raising. The very thing that was to bring this creature down to us.
Interesting phrasing. He sets about fixing the situation, which involves saturating Cordelia with all the suffering going on all around her all the time, killing the oracles, and blowing up Angel HQ. Kate is still shadowing strange supernatural calls and takes the time to give Angel more crap.
My kind.
Your kind. The kind that killed my father? Did you think I would just forget about that?
So tedious. Wesley is concerned about Angel's blasé attitude towards the scrolls, and makes an observation that has informed many of my perspectives on the Buffyverse.
Angel's cut off. Death doesn't bother him because there's nothing in life he wants. It's our desires that make us human.
To demonstrate, Wesley takes Cordelia's donut.
Hey, I want that.
What connects us to life?
Right now? I'm going with donuts.
So, by his own analogy, Wesley just took out a bite of Cordy's reason for living. Messed up, in a hilarious way. At the fair Cordy gets vision infected at, there is a dude singing an interesting piece of foreshadowing.
Devil, he kept me. Brick by brick, I'm building my own house.
I like it, but why is that one dude standing so close to the dude singing? He's the only one dancing and he's blocking the toy table. Personal space, bro. Cordy goes down to the vision poisoning, which brings Angel out of his apathy. Charisma does such a good job with these scenes. Her performance feels real and very hard to watch. Angel gets to the hospital.
Are you family? Yes.
Again, interesting phrasing. Angel HQ blows up. He saves Wesley. Kate Kates things up.
I'm glad we're not playing friends anymore.
Angel discovers the oracles are dead. Good riddance if you ask me. I was reminded of another quick death in the Buffyverse.
And a little more fun around here.
The Voca, who now has the scrolls, starts the raising. Angel interferes.
Lindsay.
Huh. I wonder if he's related to someone we know. Lindsay finishes the ritual in his stead. Pretty effective and epic special effects for the time, of course. Angel cuts off Lindsay's hand before he can burn the scrolls, and a slightly scorched Wesley closes the door on the relentless visions. As the team comes back together stronger than before, Wesley discovers the word Shanshu.
Oops.
Actually means the vampire with a soul is going to become human.
That'd be nice.
And the duality of the term reveals the wordplay of the episode's title.
To live and die in LA.
In the last scene, we discover the thing Wolfram and Hart raised to sever Angel's ties was Darla. There is quite a bit going on with Shanshu in LA, making it a fitting wrap-up to this very experimental first season of Angel, which has been, in a word, uneven. Stellar at times and clunky at others. But overall, I would rate Season 1 as pretty successful. The episode is roughly structured as a way of summing up the season's theme. Connection. Doyle told Angel very early on,
It's about reaching out to people, showing them that there's love and hope still left in this world.
Hey, spirit change.
Get a job, you lazy self.
and in the episode's opening, Angel's laissez-faire attitude about his own death is cute.
Angel's going to die?
Oh, anything else?
Though his lack of interest in the prophecy of his own death, especially given his familiarity with prophecies of death, might feel a little negating of the season's journey, but I think it tracks. This season, he got his happy ending with Buffy, before he had to give it up for the battle. When he grew to trust the trio, I've never noticed that I said that before. Moving on. He was connected to, the battle claimed Doyle. After that, Angel began to withdraw again. His development this season has not been a straight line, but an ebb and flow. We all feel cut off from time to time, calling into question the why of why we fight, and occasionally having to wonder if everything just gets stripped away in the end, then what is the point? The butt-faced Voca demon's attempt to remove all of Angel's connections to the powers is the very thing that reminds him of the why.
Are you family? Yes.
Simply, love. Love in this present is something worth fighting for.
Don't be embarrassed. We're family.
and one of life's tragedies is that losing something is often the experience we need to be reminded of its meaning. The Shanshu prophecy offers up an alternate motivation for the battle. If Angel completes his journey of redemption, he will one day be rendered human. A reward, a finish line to this toil. We'll be coming back to the Shanshu repeatedly over the seasons and how it relates to the show's themes. For now, I found it interesting to note that in the scroll itself, there is a dragon. Some of the episode creaks a bit. Butt-face McPhantom of the law firm being dressed like a Hot Topic Robin Hood is pure camp. Him being purely in service of setup doesn't help either, as for a time he feels like one of the most efficient and effective baddies ever faced in the Buffyverse, decimating Team Angel with ruthless efficiency, and then, once the writers have shuffled all the pieces where they need them, falling easily in an awkwardly choreographed wire-fu fight at the end, again making the pacing feel very strange. Still, the direction Greenwalt hints at is exciting, and both Blind Date and To Shanshu in L.A. raise a topic that has mostly just been hinted at in the Buffyverse: ethics. There is overlap, but they are not the same thing. We've talked a lot about philosophy, and to this point the shows have used a recurring pattern when it comes to evildoers.
I don't have a choice. I didn't have a choice.
Sometimes you don't have a choice.
Typically, within the framework of the shows, when a souled being is doing something heinous, their actions are framed by the belief that, and I'm using Sartrean phrasing here, they only have one option, and that option takes undeniable precedence over any other, driving them from their conscience. Since the soul is the conscience, unsouled beings simply act on selfish impulse, always doing what they want. In Lie to Me, Ford believed his only choice was to trade lives to Spike in exchange for immortality, which led Buffy to saying,
You have a choice. You don't have a good choice, but you have a choice.
Ford's real choice was to do evil or to accept his death with dignity. Faith and Buffy dabbled briefly with ethics after Faith stabbed Alan.
Anyways, how many people do you think we've saved by now? Thousands? And didn't you stop the world from ending? Because in my book, that puts you and me in the plus column.
But mostly it was made clear that she was acting from a place of fear, abuse, and self-preservation, defense mechanisms. And that's been the formula, perceived lack of choice driving a person from their conscience. The problem is that in life, not all ethical dilemmas are so straightforward. These two episodes of Angel subvert that formula and suggest that things are not always going to be that simple in the Angelverse. In Blind Date, Lindsay, a regular evildoer faced with a heinous act, says,
I don't want to be here any more than you want to see me. I don't have a choice.
And into Shanshu, after picking Team Evil, Lindsay tells Angel,
You said I had to make a choice. And you did.
As I mentioned in the previous episode, Angel's actions are not so binary either. It all ties together rather well, thematically. Lindsay and Angel's ethical complications, the double meaning of Shanshu, and even the Latin of the spell.
Dum vides mors non dues sed uno sunt, in tenebris lux est, in lug tenebrae sunt. Serge!
They all inform each other nicely. Needless to say, I love all the character stuff, especially when Team Angel becomes Angel the Family. Cordy completes a major step in her character development. She already has one of the better character arcs in the Buffyverse, from high school alpha to reluctant do-gooder, to I have bigger plans but I'll help, to committed, to now.
We have to help them.
We will.
One can only imagine the psychic and emotional damage incurred by feeling all of the suffering everywhere all at once, and I think her arc has been very well grounded and justified so far. Cordy getting the raw, unfiltered pain going on at all times is such an interesting exploration of the visions as well as the powers that be. If she is receiving the unfiltered volume of actual suffering occurring in real time, it raises wonderful questions about the powers that be, and their gatekeeping of the visions for their own purposes. Perhaps there may be less benevolence there than anyone thought. It has been an interesting journey, and while unevenness in the first season of any show isn't uncommon, the heights that Angel's first season reached definitely put it near the top of my list for favorite first seasons of any show. When I first began this episode guide, I'll admit I was nervous that I may not find enough to talk about. I always found Angel a little more meandering, and Buffy is one of the most written about shows in history, and I have read quite a bit. Angel, perhaps, has been stuck in that long shadow, and because it never gained the same following, ended up more experimental. But as we've gone deeper this season, I have regularly been surprised at what an examination has revealed. These are rich characters, and if there is one thing adulthood can do, It is meander. The existential grind is real, and the more you and I look at these stories of the Angelverse characters, the more inspiring I find Greenwalt and Whedon's creation, and I can't wait to get into Season 2 with you. I can live with that. P.W. Gregory.
The dance of capitalist superiority.
Thank you for the donation. Which episode is worse, She or Expecting? I think She is more interesting in terms of the themes and what it's trying to do and all of that. Expecting, I get very bored of pregnancy stories, but yeah, I think I'd have to go to She, but that's, which would you prefer, a kick in the crotch or a punch in the teeth? I don't know. All right, thank you for the donation. Cheers. Just what I need, more caffeine. Perfect. Let's switch over to the meeting. Just a moment. Hello. Jack, can you give me a sound check?
Yep, I can hear you.
Alrighty. Wow. So note to self, clean office before hosting. That's okay. I'm wearing an appropriate shirt, I think. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you guys. Happy Saturday. Let me go. Why beat around the bush? Let's go right. Hey, Paul. Welcome. Let's go right over to Jack. Jack, sir.
Hi.
Hi.
What did I do? I'm sorry.
You're so pretty.
Thanks, man. So are you.
That deserves a Jesus Jack in the chat.
Jesus Jack. Whoa. Bless you, my son, for I have sinned.
Praise be.
Praise be.
Hi. So we're talking. What are we talking about, Jack? To Shanshu in LA.
Yes, we are. Let me get my notes, my very limited notes. I don't have a lot to say. It's as finales go, it's kind of like it's not bad, but it's.
Oh, no one's on screen. Sorry, everyone. Thank you. There's that pretty face. And that deserves a Ian facepalm. There we go. Sorry. So you were saying,
yeah. As finales go, it's kind of meh, but it's like it's not terrible, but it's, I don't know, it's fine, I guess. Let me see. Let's talk about the Voca demon. He reminds me of Kane from WWE. That might not mean anything to you, but it does to me. And his voice, he kind of sounds like Adam, right? I think he sounds like Adam.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think Adam's voice is one of his better features.
It's just a thing. It's sure, that's fine. And I stole this from the trivia page of IMDb, but Voca is an anagram of the word havoc, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
I mean, yeah. Sure. Yeah. Sorry, this is all over the place here. Kate's anger is kind of unfounded or misdirected. I've said that before. It's kind of annoying. But I like it when Angel shuts her down and tells her to cut the shit. That's kind of cool. Because it's all just like, there's more important things happening here.
Well, I see a couple of people defending the episode in chat. I don't think there's any need to defend the episode. I think really what it's doing is, between Blind Date, this, and the first episode of Season 2, it's redirecting into the show that becomes the Angel that we really enjoy. Mm-hmm. That is not the episodic... one at a time, rah-rah show, but the big arc show. But I think that a bit of movement was required and you can
Yeah.
feel the movement in this. It doesn't feel like the culmination. Would you agree with that, Jack?
Sure. And guys, understand that I'm not saying it's bad. It's not. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not. It's not. It's yeah. It's not bad at all. It's not Reptile Boy or you know. It's not bad, but it's just I don't know. It's just That's gonna get me in trouble again. No, it's good. It's good. Okay.
No worries.
Yeah. But yeah. Let's see. You kind of pointed it out in the video. Charisma Carpenter gives a hell of a performance here. I agree. It feels very very real. And I think it might be her best performance in the entire series, if I'm being honest. Like, it's very very good. Let's see what else. David Greenwald said the only reason that they blew up The Office is because it was a cramped space and difficult to film in. That was on the DVD commentary. Again, stolen from IMDb, not an original thought. I stole that. Yeah.
Yeah, all good, bud.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, let me go over to Lauren. Lauren, hello. Are you moving?
Hello. Find my unmute button. And you can see my pretty stack of boxes.
Well, happy moving. This is This is a difficult time to be moving, so I hope you're getting by. Okay.
I mean, the moving is going to have to happen because I'm currently living in my mom's house, and she's going to be moving. And I actually went house hunting today, and I did see a house that I really, really liked. So we'll see what happens.
Good deal.
The packing is happening. But yeah, this episode, I thought it was a really good one. And there were a few things where I was like, really? Like the whole when Wesley thought the prophecy was reading Angel was going to die, my first thought was, oh, just like the prophecy that Buffy was going to die at the end of that season 1 finale.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I hadn't made that connection, but I like it.
But I mean, I loved Wesley's line about, Angel feels like he has nothing to really live for. So it's like, okay, yeah, that's
yeah. The one of the biggest pieces of foreshadowing for Wesley's arc.
Yeah.
And where that grows in season 5.
I think you actually used that line in one of your, I think, Buffy Angel episodes to pair with wine or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's in one of the top 10s.
Yeah, but anyway, I hated Kate in this episode too. It's she was there to be a bitch. She added absolutely nothing to the plot. If she had been taken out, it would have changed nothing. But I mean, again, charisma, we're all going to say it. She was amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like, what was she thinking? What was she focusing on when she was acting in those moments? Because it's like, wow. I mean, just incredible acting from her.
Yeah, it's the closest comparison I can think of is like terror in a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who is having to, you've got a cameraman, the microphone person, the director, the crew, the catering people, all of that behind the camera, and you're supposed to pretend that you're a hair away from being murdered by the bad guy in the movie, and so you have to project that terror and tears and all of that. I can't imagine how exhausting it must be to go to that place.
Mm-hmm.
I've done little bits of acting, but I've never had to do anything on that
on that level. Yeah, I did drama in high school. That's the closest I've ever gotten to.
Yeah, I mean, she's projecting like she's on fire.
Yeah.
And selling it. It's not
totally. Totally selling. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a great character arc for Cordelia because when she finally comes out of it, when Wesley does his reading, and she's finally aware of where she is and what exactly was happening to her, and she's saying there's so many people in pain, we have to help them. I think she was already on her way to that, because before the demon touched her and sent her into, the pain, I mean, she was at, like she was buying stuff with the intention of cheering Angel up, like finding something that, he can connect with. And I mean, she had pretty sizable bags that were filled, and the seller was like, thank you, you really helped me out. So I mean, that leads me to say she probably spent a couple $100, and it was to help Angel.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that was a good one. I think my nitpick for this episode is they really could have done better with the demon's design.
Phantom of the Law Firm didn't do it
Yeah,
for you.
it's like I'm pretty sure I've seen a mask very similar to that at Party City. And I mean, and like we've had some pretty amazing looking demons at this point. We've had the gentleman at this point in Buffy, Der Kindestad, who is right up there with the gentleman in my opinion in terms of design and creep factor. They could have given us something better.
I think one of the I think one of the few what's the award for TV? I can see it in my head. I just can't think of the name. The American award for Emmys. I think one of the Emmys that the shows were known for winning and didn't win very many others was for makeup design and creature design. Yeah. That might have specifically related to Hush, I want to say.
I think so.
Yeah. But that's part of the thing about this finale is it just feels like, I'm not sure how for one thing, Angel didn't have the same budget, and I'm not sure how the turn in the last 4 episodes went. I know that much more so than Buffy, their show was always kind of in danger of cancellation, and so there was a lot of pivoting, and this episode again just feels like a pivot, getting something done quickly to try and get to the place where they are, where we start getting episodes like Are You Now or Have You Ever, and the good stuff in Angel season 2. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know, but I definitely feel the motions of the maybe hasty change that were occurring, and maybe the demon design kind of fell into that. To even attempt wire fu fighting in the final scene, I think was ambitious.
Yeah,
you know.
For me, that scene was happening a little too fast to really see what was happening, though. It's like, okay, is that Angel who just slid across the floor, or was it the demon? It was just all so quick. But I don't know. It's but I mean, seeing Lindsay again, and he talking about choices and stuff, and he made his choice, and I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week, in that I think, thinking back to Blind Date and why Angel didn't want to trust Lindsay, I mean, turns out that was a very valid and good choice.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking back, it's like Angel didn't really believe he was going to change, and he was right.
It's interesting, though. I love the Greenwald trying to subvert the choice formula that I highlighted in the video. You said I had to make a choice. I did. Where he chooses the wrong path, or chooses the evil path specifically. I'm not sure that I made enough of that in the video, but it's interesting that he went that route. And they say to choose not to choose is a choice, which is a complicating idea that I hadn't gotten into before that. But Yeah, it's an interesting episode.
Yeah, and I had actually forgotten it. Again, I've said before, it's been so long since I've watched Angel the series. I'd actually forgotten that Angel cut his hand off,
Yeah.
and when he started putting the scroll toward the fire, I'm like, no, because I didn't remember what was going to happen, and like for a split second, I thought, does he burn the scroll? Is Cordy? I mean, of course, I remember that Cordy was going to be okay, but I didn't know what was going to happen, so it was.
It's a pretty heightened moment of violence in the show too, where people's teeth fall out and demons get beheaded and so forth. For some reason, his hand getting cut off feels quite a bit more dramatic.
Yeah, and I'm blanking on the actor's name, but he was selling it, just like the cries of pain and clutching the stump. It's
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but
was there anything else you want to throw out about Shanshu?
No, that's all I got.
All right.
Somebody needs to be leaving soon. Josh, I think.
All right, Josh. Josh, I'll go to you next, but I want to acknowledge Kate, £7 donation.
The dance of capitalist superiority.
Says R.I.P. Ted and Edgar. Just to be clear, Ted's a mouse and Edgar was a spider that died in the window well of this office. My roommate didn't die. Everything is okay. Thank you, everybody. And Jack's looking at me like, murderer. Yeah, if you want to see the whole story, go over to Twitter. I got bored and was procrastinating writing Fool for Love and did a whole thing. Lauren, can you mute yourself? Appreciate it. Thank you. Josh.
Howdy, y'all.
Hello.
Thanks for the support, Liv and Lauren.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys calling that out. I would not have seen that otherwise. Josh, hi. How are you?
I've got cookie dough ice cream, so I'm doing very well.
I have cookies and cream waiting for me after this.
See, we're almost there. We're almost there together.
I think I may have mentioned before I quit drinking, I was like, I don't have a sweet tooth. I'm fine. I'm fine. And then I quit drinking and realized, I've been drinking all my sugar.
I can 100% relate to that.
The ice cream, the ice cream floweth in this place. But to Shanshu in LA.
So my big thing on structure was I grew up on Star Trek.
Okay.
And before I got to Buffy and Angel, I wasn't used to season finales not being nail-biting cliffhangers.
Yeah.
So the structure of having a complete story arc that actually ends in the season finale, and resolves, I really like, especially as a
I do too.
Storytelling tool.
I think even now it feels a little unusual, doesn't it?
I think so.
I'm just trying to think of non-mutant enemy shows off the top of my head. Jack and I are watching Hannibal now. And it has two of the craziest season finales of any show I've ever seen. And yeah, Star Trek is always a two-parter.
Yeah.
I do appreciate a complete season. It's a nice feeling.
It is, and I know that it ends on Lila peering in at Darla and oh my God, what's gonna happen, that kind of a thing. But everything else is fine. Everything else gets resolved. Everybody's fine.
Yeah.
So I like that as a structure. I like that as a storytelling thing. That Buffy and Angel both do that a lot with their finales.
Yeah, there's a nice emotional catharsis at the end of it. I mean, arguably, The Gift is the only one that maybe feels a little what?
Well, so I got to watch Buffy when it was airing, and so when The Gift ended, and we all knew that the WB hadn't picked up Buffy, we were like, okay, cool, that was it. That's Buffy. But so. The Shanshu, I love and hate the Shanshu. I love it because I really like how the Buffyverse does prophecies that are very letter of the law. Like if whatever the prophecy says will specifically come true. And so like in Prophecy Girl, it says Buffy dies. Buffy died.
Yeah.
It said nothing about resuscitation, which meant that her dying didn't have to be the end.
Yeah.
And they do the same thing with the few other prophecies that pop up throughout. But to Shanshu, the Shanshu prophecy bothers me because the first time I watched the episode all the way through, I was like, that all already happened. So what are we worried about?
You're talking about, he became human.
He already played a pivotal role in the apocalypse, already became human.
Yeah.
What are we worried about?
Yeah. I agree. I hear that as a criticism levied against that plot device on numerous occasions. And then there's the one that I had to correct from the previous episode guide, which is that it doesn't say Angel's name. It says Vampire with a Soul, which becomes relevant. And speaking of that, before you go on, Josh, as Russell pointed out, to everyone who's watching in the stream, we are a completely spoiled conversation. Everyone here everyone here has been here before, and everyone here has finished both shows. So just so you know, if you're listening to this and you have not finished yet, you might want to go and wrap up. That's all. But go ahead, Josh.
So with the specific kind of letter of the law nature of Buffyverse prophecies and the fact that all of the things about Angel prophesized in Shanshu have already come to pass, like it really sucked the drama out of it for me in terms of like.
So you caught that on the first try, on the first run through?
I didn't watch Angel when it was airing. I only watched Buffy when it was airing.
Yeah.
And so I think the first time I watched Angel all the way through was like 5 years ago, and I was like, he brought the gospel, which was a pivotal role in the apocalypse. He became human, and I will remember you. What are we worried about?
Yeah.
And even in Becoming Part 2, Whistler seems to imply that Angel playing a role in Akathala was prophesized. He goes, it wasn't supposed to go down like this whenever he's talking to Buffy. And so like at some point somebody knew that he was going to do something. And then we get to Shanshu, and it's treated like this big revelation of like, Angel's going to get to be human? And Angel's like, oh, that sounds nice. Except he already did.
Yeah. I get that. It's the lack of specificity, tricky thing prophecies. If you didn't come, I couldn't go.
Yeah.
There's so much of that. How do you tell if this is which apocalypse?
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, we find ourselves having to know the plural of apocalypses.
Yep.
Says.
And it also, to me, it raises, it answers the contradiction between existentialism and determinism as it exists in the Buffyverse.
Which is what?
So if there is such a thing as fate, then how can any choice we make matter?
Right.
But if Buffy is all about you always have a choice, then is there fate? And the answer to me is yes to both. Like, Buffy was fated to die in Prophecy Girl, and her choosing to accept her fate was what allowed her to move past that prophecy.
Interesting. I like it.
And if she hadn't died, she never would have been able to live, which is what we saw in The Wish.
Yeah, I'm keeping up.
So Wesley's like, there is a design angel hidden in the chaos.
Yes.
I
love that little talk, and that talk makes me so sad for Wesley.
Right?
Yes. Many of the things that he says in these two episodes, once they're sort of played out to the end of it, are brutal.
Mm-hmm. But you mentioned it, but I can't remember who sings that song, but you still have made a choice, even if you choose not to choose.
Yeah, to choose not to choose is a choice.
Acceptance is also a choice. And so accepting a person's fate or destiny or prophecy or whatever is also a choice. And that was to me, that was the formula that was laid out in Prophecy Girl, and so Angel also has the opportunity to accept his fate and his destiny and all that kind of stuff all the way throughout.
Yeah, and I think Whistler's speech, comments on that specifically in Becoming Part 1. So what are we, helpless puppets? No, the big moments are going to come. You can't help that. It's what you do afterwards that counts.
Exactly.
Which I think could be read as an interpretation of that intersection that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. So, but beyond that, I mean, I really enjoy To Shanshu because I feel like anytime there is a giant explosion that silhouettes the main character, I feel like that's a very good stakes raising kind of a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And Kate and Angel's interactions, I feel like, are very human, if disappointing, knowing where she ends up. And, you know, just when he charges in and she goes, "Are you family?" And he goes, "Yes." And I'm just like, "Of course they are."
Yes, definitely family.
Yeah, but the evolution of Cordy and Angel's relationship. I'm rewatching season 2 with a friend of mine right now, and like the number of shots Cordelia shot at getting with Angel over the course of the first couple of seasons of Buffy, and then for them to wind up as like this really healthy, wholesome friendship duo, where she's like, "He's unhappy, cool, I'm gonna make him happy," and he's like, "She's dying, cool, I'm gonna wreck everybody's shit." You know, like that's wholesome. I love that.
Do you and where do you land on Angel, Diet Angel, and Cordelia end of season 3?
I have many passionate feelings about Cordelia. I think that the decay of her character actually begins mid-season 3.
Yes.
And so I'm not a fan of the Gru Angel Cordy love triangle because it reduces Cordelia to a love interest. And she kind of loses her own agency because Angel has like 4 plot threads running through him by the end of season 3, and Cordelia has 1. And it's which man will she choose?
Yeah, it's pretty boring.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Kangel shipper through and through. Like, I think that Kangel is one of the healthiest relationships on the show.
Yeah, I mean, that's a deeper well. See what I did there? That's the specifically the treatment of Cordelia and Fred and their plot lines and all of that is a longer conversation, but it is there to be acknowledged, certainly.
I'm gonna use the word misogyny a lot when we get to season 3.
Yeah. That should be fun. By the way, before so we're doing Restless in 2 weeks, or do you guys want to do Restless next week and then take the month off? What does anyone have a preference? Was that too confusing? Restless in 4 parts.
A few of us were talking about what if we broke up Restless into each dream.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, is it? You mean for the round robin conversation?
Or even like four hangouts.
That's a lot of hangouts.
We hang out a lot.
All right, we'll think about it. Restless in 2 parts. I like the idea of breaking it up in a round robin because the episode guide itself is 4 separate essays. And so if we went round dream by dream and give everyone a chance to speak. Well, the other thing that we could do that I haven't thought about until right now is we could just call it at 7. So it's 5:30 my time right now. And when we hit 7 o'clock, we say, okay, we'll pick this up the next get-together and do it that way instead of just going over it. But the risk we run in that situation is that some people won't get a chance to speak, I think, which is also, there's just not an easy or perfect way to do it. Josh, anything else you want to throw out about Shanshu?
Restless next week or in 2 weeks. I vote 2 weeks selfishly so that I can be there. But
okay.
Do what you have to do, Ian. We trust you.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
No,
you should
well-
not trust me to get any of this correct.
Too late. No, I really enjoyed Shanshu, and I don't have much else to say about it. It's one of those episodes that I watched with a stupid grin on my face.
It's
just
definitely
enjoyed it.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It never comes together and feels. It's a bridge episode. Bridge episodes are just a different cut from a different cloth than Are You Now or Have You Ever or any of those kinds of episodes. So yeah, I get it.
Cool. I'm out.
All right, bud. I appreciate it. Let's go to Wonder. Wonder, hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Good week. How about you?
I should not take Benadryl the night before a Patreon hangout because it does not do wonders for my brain parts.
Oh no.
That's all.
I'm trying to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, yeah. See, words not coming, and I'm kind of like someone who's known for his words. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's talk about to Shanshu in L.A.
All right, I want to do it.
Hang on, Boris. Please mute yourself. Thank you. All right, Wonder, go ahead.
Sidetrack a little bit because this episode kind of was the focus of my absolute favorite reference to Angel.
Okay.
Which is in the librarians, and Christian Kane, who plays Lindsay, plays a librarian in that show. And there was an episode where the librarians were out on assignment, and Christian Kane's character gets a phone call from Jenkins at the library, who tells him, hey, you're not after an item, they're vampires. And Christian Kane is on the phone, staring at his hand, moving it back and forth, and goes, vampires? I hate vampires.
Cute. I like it.
It was right before a commercial, and I had to rewind. I died. Like, it was my favorite call out. But yeah, I think that I love what this episode does in terms of kind of showing you, oh, this was, the old episodes, and this is how we're ushering into the new one. And we're still with David Nabbit, who comes in here thinking, oh, this is all fun and games. This is just a cutesy little thing where a demon could walk in any moment. Ha ha! Let's hang out. And then ends in just explosions and
that is such an odd beat, the David Nabbit beat. I think I enjoy it, but it's so strange. I guess it's unusual for any episode to allow for so much dead air, but the dead air is the joke of them staring out the window and just sort of pausing awkwardly. I think I like it, but it is a strange beat in something so kinetic as this episode, as you were saying.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of a little hokey bit that they were doing, and then it ends with something way more serious. And that's kind of the thing, is that both Kate and Cordelia and Wesley were telling Angel the same thing, essentially, that you're not really a part of the world. You're not alive, you're not human. But Kate was trying to force that upon him and be isolating. You're not a part of the world. I don't want you to be part of the world. You make me angry. You remind me of these things that killed my father. Whereas Cordelia and Wesley are just like, yeah, you're not a part of the world, but you need to be.
Yeah.
And so that push and pull, and I think that I don't know. I think they're both wrong, and they both end up being proven wrong that he does have connections to the world.
Well, yeah,
And-
it's them for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have that kind of just this kind of joke being about, oh, we need to connect him to the world. Give me that donut kind of bit. And then it ends with this deep connection of, are you family? Yes. And just like without missing a beat and going for it. And I think that was the emotional undercurrent that Boca represented, which is because he didn't go after Angel in a way that, you know, he didn't take a side to Wesley. He didn't, you know, try to blow up Cordelia specifically. He planted a bomb in the office. He kind of swiftly cut off Angel from the visions, but he was dispatched very easily.
Yeah, he went for all of his connections. And
but he didn't kill them.
Right.
He severed the connection to the powers, but he didn't go and you'd think the way that he is presented and how powerful and scary he's presented as, the better way is just to dispatch of Cordelia right there. But I think it was more, he was representing that darkness, and that if you don't have attachment to the world and you feel that down in depression, you can end up cutting yourself off from the things that you really do have.
Yeah, I follow.
And so that was, I think, why he seemed kind of awkward. Like he should have more power than he seemed to. He was gotten rid of very easily. But I think he kind of represented that.
Yeah, he's a very efficient planner. As for the rest, maybe a little less so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but yeah, and at the end I think they must have had so much fun, like blowing up that that set, or metaphorically, like not having to go back to that tiny cramp that looks like a.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 commentaries for the first season, and most of them consist of whoever the commentary is complaining about how cramped and terrible that set was to shoot on. So yeah, them blowing up the set was probably a symbolic of, thank God we're done with that.
Very cathartic.
Yeah.
But also it's a very much a raising of the stakes. So David Nabbit is kind of representing how the show used to be. Yes, there were serious moments. We lost Doyle, but it was this kind of a different story structure, like you said.
Right.
And
the
now the
episodic
stakes are going to be the stakes are going to be raised. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be more ambitious.
It's interesting too, because Kate to me seems like a character completely born out of the original episodic structure, but there's an indication of them at least wanting to find a place for her in the beginning of the next season before she makes a hasty departure for Law and Order, I think it was. But then I think this is Nabbitt's last appearance officially. Or no, he makes an appearance in the hotel in season 2, and then that's his last appearance. And I guess this was just more about moving the pieces and the stage and all of that.
Yeah, and it ends in Cordelia's home, and in the hearth, and this closer than they've ever been, and realizing with the stakes getting higher. And I think it was beautifully done in that regard. But yeah, there is kind of this dissonance of if Voca was that powerful, you'd think he'd be more effective. But I think that it was just more that symbolic thing.
Yeah, he definitely has a judge air to him. The judge being another one that could vaporize a room of people. Although we had a rocket launcher in that case. That's a little bit more convincing a case of meh, enough of this guy. So, yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Was there anything else you want to throw out about Shanshu?
That's about it. Thank you.
Alrighty, let me go over to Sarah. Sarah, hello.
Hey.
How's it
nice
going?
Haircut.
Thank you. I did it myself.
I figured. How are you?
I'm a little drowsy. Why doesn't Benadryl wear off? I don't understand. It's so dang powerful. Anyway, and I've complained about that enough.
I've been there.
Yeah.
So I feel like I kind of have to put a trigger warning on what I'm about to talk about.
Okay.
I'm going to focus on Cordy and talk about trauma.
Okay.
Because I went kind of a dark path watching it this time. I see this particularly as assault. She is assaulted in public. And like that, I think is where the trauma is. And I was I'm reading this book. Why is it whatever I'm studying in class comes into this stuff? But I'm reading a book for class about trauma. And about it's a beautiful book written by someone who this is their autobiography, and one of the things they did was write one of the seminal books about talking about people opening up about trauma and rape and stuff. And then here, and in this this autobiography, she talks about her experience of PTSD. And this book is entirely written in poems, not like tinkly, pretty poems, but like the raw emotional experience.
Yeah.
And she described it as like being being buried in concrete. Not only the not being able to move, but the chemical reaction that concrete consumes you from the inside. Which is a frightening and awful image.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And that's what came to mind with Cordy. And so I was thinking about about this as an assault experience, a trauma experience. And one of the things that can happen when people are traumatized or in a toxic environment or abuse or anything like that, you can develop too strong a sense of empathy. And I think, that's, a thing that happens with Cordy, that up until this point, she's had boundaries. Even if she's kind of not a bit clumsy sometimes about enforcing them.
Yeah, she had a wall between her work life and her private life.
And that really disintegrates from this point.
Yeah.
And she becomes consumed by the work. And like Cagel would be healthy if it wasn't that she makes it all about, like, she's all about his emotions and taking care of him and forgets herself.
Yeah.
Like the cost that she's willing to pay with these visions, and thinking about this is assault, but also like so are the visions. She's being forced to experience other people's emotions and other people's trauma. And experiencing other people's trauma, especially when you have an overdeveloped sense of empathy, is itself traumatic.
I agree with everything you're saying.
And so, like, the thought, yeah, she's signs, like, she agrees to it because she wants to help people, but the fact that she has no support really, and she's just like, it eats her up. That's, I think, what we see Cordelia's entire arc. Even before Jasmine, she is being destroyed by this work.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of the Fred Illyria process, her being hollowed out for something else. It was the way the Keeper of the Deeper Well described it in that, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I think your reading of her process and what Skip does and all of that is similar. I think it's probably unintended, of course, but I think it holds up.
I don't know that how much if they'd intended this, maybe they could have given us a story when she had a chance to confront and process somehow, like with the Jasmine stuff. If she'd been able, there was an opportunity, I think, to give her a story where she confronted her abusers. And yes, I'm thinking of the powers that be as her abusers, as much as sort of the senior partners are in the law firm. And when Wolfram and Hart does the hijacks the vision thing, and we get it textual that these are, how much these visions cost her.
Yeah.
And there was a chance maybe to have it be something where we could do something about the trauma, but instead we just allow her to be consumed by it.
Yeah, and with Birthday, was that the name of the episode? I think they take a stab at her making the choice to take the visions on, where she didn't do that with Doyle. But again, it ends up being in a scene where she sees what the visions are doing to Angel, and so in order to lessen his pain, takes them on, as opposed to that choice sort of being free and clear and of her own. I don't know.
And Skip is so emotionally manipulative and awful in that too. He seems charming, but so do abusers sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was also led me to think about the chosen family aspect that we get, that we get textual here. And I was thinking that healthy people don't really make chosen family like that. I mean, people who are totally broken don't make chosen family like that either. So chosen family is kind of a walking wounded thing healing people do. Because it's, and I think that in a sense that's why, maybe it's not intentionally why David Nabbitt's there, but I think we see like he doesn't fit. Because he doesn't have, he doesn't have anywhere near the same damage. It's not just that he doesn't have a role. He doesn't really have damage either, the way that Angel does or Wes does. And I think I wonder if it hints at something more to Cordelia even before, because we think about her loss as being the loss of her father's fortune. But maybe there was something more too, because she and Wes did see something in each other before they mistook it for romance. But they did see a connection with each other immediately.
Yeah, her story outside of the shows is not maybe that fleshed out.
No.
And also her sort of just leaving, 18 years old, end of high school, immediately leaving and setting off to LA to begin life as an actress without any adjustment period, or having gotten into multiple colleges and not applying for student aid. It seems like there's something there in what happened and why she left home.
Yeah, there are hints, because we also, I was thinking, there's in the episode when we meet Fred's parents, she's just as sort of like, oh my God, they were real parents, as the others.
Yeah, they're set up as, there's no way, they have to be the bad guys of the episode. There's no way that they're this nice and this genuine, and then that's the subversion, is they are that nice and that genuine. Which I think is terrific.
But it's also like everybody but Fred is shocked at the thought of parents being parents.
Yeah.
Which speaks volumes about their experience.
Yeah, exactly.
That we don't go into. But yeah, that was sort of the rabbit hole I went down. Is like, oh, poor Cordelia, and like her whole arc. I think there's more consistency in it if you read it as she is. She tries to put a brave face on it, but she is, facing trauma and being hurt continuously.
Yeah.
And other people I think they aren't seeing it.
Well, that's
It's
always
like
that's
people
always
aren't seeing-
that specifically. I suppose when I wrote this episode guide, I didn't know what else to say about it, but the nature of the visions are conveyed suffering. The way she and Doyle have always talked about it, it's them feeling the suffering and terror of the people who are the victims and that's dark. I mean, that's so she's getting the murdery assault suffering every time a vision comes to her, which are being selectively chosen by the powers unless they're being manipulated by Wolfram and Hart. I mean, it's a lot. It is a whole lot. So I think your reading's really interesting.
It's just kind of depressing.
Yes. Well, welcome to Angel.
Yes, that's Angel. Yeah, it's depressing and it's mean to women.
Yeah. I mean, I think Russell earlier commented on how for what was trying to be a feminist show, I think it's very hard to. I think Buffy's feminism is dated, which we've talked about, and I think it's very hard to ever try and apply a feminist perspective to Angel. It maybe the first 2 or 3 episodes they were trying to do that, but then once the show kind of found its route, Angel never struck me as, even at the time, feminist in the way that Buffy was intended to be.
I think there are times that they try, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't feel the same.
Fundamentally unexamined stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, just thinking about it, Jane Espenson wrote 2 episodes of Angel. Marty Noxon, I don't know how many episodes of Angel she wrote, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. And Joss wrote very few episodes of Angel as well, in comparison to their total number of Buffy episodes. So maybe that was an influence. I don't know. I love Angel for what it is. Where I think Buffy set out to be a particular kind of parable. Brian, thank you, Brian. I don't think Angel had that in mind. So
no. Yes, one more thing. I was thinking, because we so often read Angel as Greek tragedy and through the
yes.
sort of Orpheus story and all that. There are more stories after Orpheus does what he does, after he discovers what he's done, and one of which is Antigone, which is about Orpheus and Jostica's daughter. And it's an interesting one because the Antigone feels well, first of all, the play before it has the 2 sons of Orpheus and Jostica fight each other to the death and they both die. And the uncle decides only one can be buried. And so Antigone takes it upon herself to bury and mourn the other out of duty, even though it will cost her, and it ends up costing her life. She is buried alive because of it. Over the devotion to duty. So I think,
and it's an interesting fit, especially if you read a coma in the same kind of way as that.
Yeah, she's buried alive and then she hangs herself. The Greeks were so
chipper.
Yeah, actually, they kept the comedy and the tragedy separate, but yeah, it's both, and then we have both Cordelia and Fred consumed from the inside, and in a sense Darla as well, because this show does not have good thoughts about pregnancy.
Yep.
And yet there are moments of this show that are amazing and brilliant and transcendent. It is, that's Angel. It'll tear your heart out, and make you want to go get the rock. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
so yeah, that's my very depressing reading of this episode. Even though it's a good episode, I just kind of was like, oh God, look at what's happening to Cordelia.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's sort of Angel in a nutshell.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me go over to Callum. Hello, sir. Welcome back.
Hello. Hi. How you doing?
Good. I love that porthole window.
I know it's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's, yeah. When it's light out, it looks like a halo around my head.
Well,
So,
it looks somewhat divine right now, and just for that,
well, thank you.
I'm gonna put a Jesus Jack in the chat. So we're talking about to Shanshu.
Yeah.
The bridge to our season 2.
Yes.
Where do you fall on this one? Thoughts about what we've talked about so far?
I really like this episode. I sort of rewatched it today and sort of, I guess I've never really sort of thought too hard about this episode. It sort of like just kind of seems to be kind of set up, I guess. But this time I just sort of, I really enjoyed it. It was sort of a very well made episode as well. I feel like there's a lot of subtle things going on that I think sort of, just elevate the whole thing. And and in terms of what other people have said, a lot of really good, smart stuff that I would have never thought of. So that's why I love coming to
neither.
Yeah.
I always feel like this group puts me to shame.
So yeah, I sort of took notes. I mostly just made sort of a lot of observations about sort of very minor things that I just thought elevated the whole thing. Some of them have already been spoken about. Stuff like Cordelia's conversation with the girl in the market selling art supplies, and how that sort of how she was doing that to help Angel, but doing that also helped the girl in the market. She said specifically that Cordy had made her day. I thought that was, that was sort of nice. It sort of goes to what was being talked about for Cordy's already on that journey of wanting to help people before what happens to her, which is obviously deeply unpleasant. And Sarah did a great job of really going into detail on that. So thank you, Sarah. So what have I got here? David Nabbit.
Mr. Nabbit, yeah.
Yeah, so I think when we spoke on his first appearance, and I think the idea of what if he had been a regular had sort of came up in that conversation, and I was kind of leaning on, he was fine. But this time around, he's obviously very awkward, which is clearly something I don't relate to even a little bit. But he's so lonely, and he feels that his life lacks any kind of meaning. So it's I feel like there could have been something really interesting there if he sort of is trying to find his meaning through sort of helping others, or he could have stuck around for a little while and found it's really not for him, and he could go back to being a software developer that somehow makes millions of dollars in a day.
Well, Nabbit's very interesting. I never felt his potential. That phrase will never be usable again until the last episode he was in, where he reveals his superpower of real estate and finance and all of that mastery of jargon, where Cordy's like, is anyone else getting warm? And no, I'm getting warm too. That's amazing. And then he just sort of disappears. But I feel like when you're offering a character to us, the audience, you don't need the superpower, but you need some potential. What is the potential of this character? Whether that's the chemistry that they may have with the other characters on the show, or their dark story, or their superpower, or whatever it may be. And I always felt like that was missing until his final appearance. That actor does a fine job with what there is to do with Nabbit, but there's just not that much to do with Nabbit. And then that becomes the joke here of there's nothing to do with Nabbit. There's no, you know. So I don't know. He's a very strange character. I'd love to hear what the original idea was with him or what they thought he was going to bring to the table.
Yeah, I agree. And as well, to something that Sarah said about how everyone on Team Angel has sort of experienced trauma of some kind. Loneliness is a kind of trauma, and he seems to be feeling that sort of pretty keenly, and at least in this episode, especially. It spoke to me certainly in that couple of minutes he was in.
Yeah, it's part of human nature to pair up and seek community.
Yes, and that's what he completely lacks.
Yeah, lacks a community, very much so. And I think we brought that up with Warzone. You know, Gunn has a strong community, and Nabbit's money sort of isolates him from it. In that perspective. So again, there was potential there, just nothing really done with it.
Yeah, agreed. Just a little note I made here was about when Cordelia said that if she ever meets the powers that be, she's going to punch them in the nose. I love that line. She's so sort of really fun and sassy in the first sort of third of this episode, which I guess is probably done deliberately to be sort of a contrast to what happens later in the episode, which is sort of horrific. But she's so much fun. She sort of makes a comment about how no one gets her kind of humor, sort of early on.
Yeah, and the selectivity of the visions really, to me, makes the powers seem a little nefarious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or by what standard are these visions being chosen, as opposed to, the unfiltered perspective?
The visions never seem to be. Maybe someone can correct me, but I don't think the visions ever actually are like a warning to Team Angel or Cordelia in particular. Like when they're about to experience something horrific, they don't get a vision saying, "Hey,
no
watch
warning.
out for that." There's never a warning, and this episode is a pretty great example of that. Like their whole life is blown up quite literally, and they don't have any support or sort of any warning of that at all.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, what's the point of giving these visions to Cordelia if they're gonna just let her, be blown up or sort of, horrifically abused as she is in this episode.
It definitely starts to paint the retcon in season 4 in a different light. Where sort of the first time through, I felt disappointed by that turn and Skip being the bad guy and all of that. The sort of the hidden agenda of the powers that be really start to paint that in a different light by then.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of which, we can segue into Voka, because he may or may not have connections to that twist in season 4.
The word.
Well, so there's the obvious visual connection of just having bugs coming out of his face, similar to Jasmine.
Yes.
I found, this is probably me reading way too much into it, but before, when he's doing the ritual at the beginning, he refers to the beast.
The beast, yeah. He doesn't specifically say that what's in the cage is the beast.
Exactly. Yeah.
Begin the process of summoning the beast.
Because when I was rewatching it this time, my first thought is like, oh, that's kind of just a weird misdirect, because Darla is, she's not even a vampire when they bring her back, she's human. But then sort of thought about it for a few more seconds. I was like, where have I heard that phrase before? Oh yeah. So, I mean, that's a long way down the road if they were really planning it that far ahead. That could well be a coincidence, but
Yeah,
find it
I mean,
interesting.
the mayor, I had fun calling one of those out in season 3. The mayor walks into the library and the beast will walk upon the earth and all the races of man will be united in fear and terror. Oh, that's kind of sweet. Different races coming together. And when I edited that video, the audio goes out and you hear, "Do you really think she's safe with him?" From that. Again, I would highly doubt that was planned, but man, is it fun to see these connections in reverse
Yeah, for sure.
when going through.
For sure. And yeah, Voka is kind of an interesting antagonist for one episode because he does not directly confront Angel until he absolutely has to, and when he doesn't directly confront Angel, he is ruthlessly efficient. He destroys his entire operation very quickly. He could have confronted Angel. They were both in the offices at the same time, and he deliberately chose to keep hidden so that he could take the scroll. And he probably did that with good reason because it turns out he got his ass kicked real quick.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, they needed the scroll for summoning, but once Darla was already being summoned, and if the retcon was already in full effect at that moment, then he had to die in order for the events to play out the way they did. Or possibly he had to. I forget exactly where the evil mummy hand, or no, not not the evil mummy hand. Lindsay's hand plays in that in the retcon, but it's possible that was fated, as Josh was talking about again earlier.
Yeah. And to the comments earlier about how that fight is not particularly well choreographed or too interesting to look at, I think part of the problem, this is going to be a bit of a weird one, I think part of the problem is just the choice of weapon that Voka has.
I was just thinking that, right? The scythe, yeah.
Like, you can't really cross swords with those scythes. Like, they both have them, and they, what can you do? You hit each other and it does nothing. Like, they just sort of stick on each other.
Yeah, the doorway move, where he does the, reverse hook on the door and then flips up like that while the dude's charging at him, to me is so emblematic of the weirdness of that fight. An attempt was made.
Yes, they tried to do something interesting with that.
Yeah, but the editing is so chunky in that whole section that there's no fluidity to it. It feels like mop bucket tripping levels of. If only they had another week or whatever it is. Yeah.
Another really small thing, might be reading too much into it. I found it really interesting that when Angel was putting the scroll away, he's reading it, or at least, looking at it sort of interestedly. Whereas sort of to Wesley and Cordy's face...
he doesn't speak the language.
Well, yeah, he doesn't speak the language, which is a problem. I mean, we don't know what languages he speaks.
Yeah, that's fair.
But he's looking at it with some kind of concern, which he didn't display to Wes and Cordy directly. Which, I don't know if you want to read anything into that of him not wanting, he's attempting to not concern them with, fears of his death or something. I don't know.
Well, he also, when he grabs the scroll in Blind Date, he says that the scroll is speaking to him, or he heard something from the scroll. So yeah, there's something going on there. But I just love the dragon.
Yes, the dragon is great.
The dragon on the scroll is a ton of fun.
Yeah. One other thing. Gunn, great appearance as usual. But Wolfram and Hart either don't have any knowledge that Angel has a connection to Gunn so far, or they are aware but they just don't think it's sort of very important, because otherwise Gunn would have been on that hit list for Voka to sort of take care of. And Angel already got trusts Gunn enough to have him, look after the people most important to him in the world. So yeah, I just found that interesting as well.
Well, they sort of suffer. The Warzone is suggested that they've suffered similar losses in that particular scene. So yeah, they understand each other in a way. And he's set up as an Angel peer, direct peer by the opening of Warzone. So yeah, I like that.
Cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it from me, I think. Wes, you guys have already spoken about it, but it's interesting just to see how wise he can be in this episode when he's sort of talking about Angel's situation of detachment and while still being, someone who pratfalls and and not too long ago was just that weird bumbling awkward watcher who had a crush on a high schooler.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing that I've been trying to lay out since he started on the show was his competency.
Yeah.
The only thing that he's lacking is confidence. And that leads to a lot of his troubles early on.
But to me, the fact that he's able to sort of get to the heart of Angel's sort of well, they sort of kind of call it depression in this episode. I don't know if you'd necessarily call it that, but that sort of is very that's not like book smarts, right? Which is something that Wesley does have a lot of. That's sort of lived experience, or it appears to be lived experience to me.
Yeah, he has a great section at the end of Eternity too that reminds me of what you're describing. You walk a fine line, Angel. I don't envy you. He has moments of perception.
Yeah, definitely.
Unless it has to do with Cordelia, where he kind of gets offensive.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for me. Yeah.
All right, bud.
I really enjoyed that episode.
Thank you. There was a. Well, I lost it. Something in chat I wanted to acknowledge and has now passed. Liv! Hello!
Hi!
Where have you been?
Oh my gosh, I've been working and doing terrible things and not hanging out with you guys. I missed you!
Well, we've missed you too. It's good to have you back.
Sorry this camera is a potato. I got a cheap laptop to tide me over in our lockdown, and I'm just now realizing the webcam is atrocious. Anyway, sorry.
That's perfectly okay. Half the time people's videos is freezing or not working, and you're on the other side of the world, and it looks great. So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, you've missed the past couple of conversations, so whatever you want is fair game. But we're talking to Shanshu, and
you mean I can yell about Sanctuary?
Sure. Yes. Tell me about Sanctuary.
No, I better not. I'm trying to keep my blood pressure down. I might. Who knows? We'll see how I go with the. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry. I think my headphones just turned off for a little bit. Okay.
Oh, that's okay.
Thank you, Callum, for mentioning that Gunn was in the episode, because I actually totally forgot about that. And it was a good moment, and it made me, when you mentioned that, I was kind of like, yeah, the level of privilege and single-mindedness that Angel Investigations is like, what do we need a guy like Nappet around here for? Like, if Gunn was there, I bet he would have been like, take a seat, buddy. Like, let's talk. Do you want to see my axe? So I don't know. I just thought of that. I forgot he was even in it. What was I going to say? Oh, I really like Voka, the demon.
The Phantom of the Law Firm, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why. I like that he has zero regard for keeping a low profile. Like, he's just like, yeah, summon me on the lawn. I'm gonna wear a floor-length black cloak, on a summer's day on the boardwalk, and a menacing gait, Hannibal Lecter mask, the whole shebang. I like it.
When you look that fantastic, I guess you want to share it with the world.
Yeah, you want to flaunt it, right? Like, if I had a billowy coat like that, I would. But I also like that everyone in Angel's life is like, Angel has no connections to the world. Oh, and then Voka comes in and is like, here are his connections. Da 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 da. Let's kill this one. Let's like take an axe to that one. Let's blow up his office. Let's bring Darla back. And so I'm like, I like him. What else was I going to say? Oh, I think Angel would really enjoy ant farming. Cordelia sort of mentions that as a potential hobby for him, and it's such a throwaway line, but I picked it up this time and I was like, I don't know if you've ever seen like the videos of ant farms and stuff on YouTube, but they're kind of relaxing, and I can totally picture Angel ant farming. So I like that Cordelia's mind went there.
Well, and it's very unlikely that an ant is going to give him a moment of perfect happiness.
Exactly. You're not going to get pure happiness from it the way you would like a kitten or something.
Maybe micro happiness. Yeah, perfect happiness. A kitten could get you to perfect happiness. It's not about sex, people. We've said it's not about sex. Get your minds out of the gutter.
Exactly. I would have lost my soul when I got like this kitten. So I think angel ant farming is a safe hobby that I am 100% on board with. And yeah, I also really like the Art Attack lady, and I wish that she was more of a regular character. She seemed nice.
The which lady?
The Art Attack lady that Cordelia
yeah.
the paint supplies from. Yeah, she was the only person to help Cordelia. Everyone else was like stepping over her, like, excuse me, miss. And I don't know, she seemed nice as well. So I would have preferred her to be on the show more than Nabbit.
Yeah, that reminds me a little bit of, there's a laugh line in Into the Spider-Verse where, what's his name? Young Spider-Man in that movie. I'm blanking on his name.
Young Spider-Man.
Young Spider-Man and a character that I won't say, Miles. Miles Morales is laying on the ground, and someone I don't want to, no spoilers for Into the Spider-Verse. It was my favorite movie of that year. Go watch it. But, and New Yorkers are stepping over the two of them, and he says, thanks, New York. And that kind of reminds me a little bit of that scene with Cordelia. It's like, does anyone stop, or is this a common thing in LA?
Yeah. And good point, Sarah. I think she totally was flirting with Cordy as well, so she should have stuck around.
Yeah, Brian says she did look a little like Gunn's sister. There was a little resemblance there. I'm not sure if that was intentional or what.
Yeah. She kind of gave me the vibe of Lorne's friend as well. That lady, the psychic lady that comes in later on. She had that vibe as well.
Oh yeah. I remember who you're talking about.
Yeah. I don't actually know if this is true or not. I remember reading something that was saying that to prepare for her acting scenes, Charisma Carpenter's acting coach showed her pictures of like Holocausts and genocides and all these horrible things, and that was kind of how she prepared for it. I don't know if that's true. I can't actually find it, so maybe I made that up. But I swear I read it somewhere, and it sounds hectic as fuck, but I don't know. It seemed to work. She did a really good job in this episode. It's haunting, that performance.
It's very affecting.
Yeah, and I do agree. I think it's probably her best work that she did on the series.
I love bits of The Wish. I mean, in the opening, the when she's lighting Xander's face on fire. I mean, that's good makeup too. She looks like she's been in it for a while, and then in the next scene gets out of the car and she's dressed to the hilt, and yeah. But this scene specifically kind of blows away most of the other stuff that comes to mind when I think about her previous scenes.
Yeah, definitely for previous scenes. I agree, Boris. Your Welcome is also pretty good. But yeah, for previous scenes, I think definitely like this in the Buffyverse is her best work she's done.
Yeah.
So I have never been a Kangel shipper, and I can pretty much trace it back to this episode. Like, for the most part. They bang on about being a family so much that by the time we get to that ballet episode, I'm like, don't kiss your family on the mouth, you fucking weirdos. So.
Oh, man. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
They say it so much. There's like 60 different times they talk about being family, even when they're like, even part of the ritual is like you won't see truth or family or some shit, and then I don't know. So it just gets stuck in my brain that her and Angel have this like little sister, sponsor, friend vibe, and I like that because I like that not everything is romantic relationships. But anyway, so every time they start doing romantical stuff later on, I'm like, ugh. So.
Yeah, that's always the question, right? Is I would love to see more platonic relationships between I mean, specifically those men and women in those kind of situations or what have you. But on a long enough timeline in any show, are two single characters of, interlocking sexualities doomed to end up together? Like, people say that Wash and Zoe are wonderful, and they are, because they are married, they come into the show married, and they're both independent, and they both have their own identities, and they work on their relationship and whatever. But on a long enough timeline, would one of them have, if that had had multiple seasons, would one of them have jettisoned the other one out the airlock at some point? Simply because, the writer's room needs ideas, and inevitably they kind of walk into that. I always felt that way a little bit about Cordelia and Angel. Was they were set up in such a nice platonic, as you say, brother-sister way, where variously she was his sponsor or whatever, and then they kind of wander into that romantic plot, and I kind of was never as excited about it as some other people were.
Okay, well, I'm glad we had this moment because I feel very alone. Everyone seems to love Angel.
Well, you forgot Buffy just donated in the chat.
The dance of
and
capitalist superiority.
Says, I'm so glad I'm not the only one who doesn't ship Cordelia and Angel. Thank you for the donation. You forgot Buffy. Cheers.
Finding my people.
Yes. Yes, we're all out there.
But I agree. I just prefer. I don't think that every attractive male lead and attractive female lead have to get together, and it was just kind of not disappointing, but just kind of like, I enjoyed their friendship more than you don't get that many heterosexual friendships where they're both attractive. It's just my thing. Kate's annoying in this episode. I don't like Kate in this.
Well, I mean, pretty much.
I don't like Kate ever.
Yeah,
but...
until Epiphany, this is the Kate that we get.
Yeah. I hate her line. There's like, you're not even a person. It's like, he's been around 300 years. Would you go up to a sheep doctor and be like, oh, it's so funny being lectured about sheep by someone who's not a sheep? Like, shut up, Kate. And then, there were so many good lines this episode. I agree. I also think that if I ever meet those powers that be, I'm gonna punch him in the nose. I was like, yeah, you better, Cordy. I love that one. I also really love Lila Morgan's. Remember when Robert Price let down the senior partners and they made him eat his liver? I don't know what made me think of that. I fucking love that line. Lila has some of the best insults and threats and stuff, I think.
Yeah, Lila's tremendous. Although when it misses in such a wonderful way. He's a vampire. Oh. In Untouched, which is wonderful.
She's like, oh, weird. Yeah.
Oh, weird. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. But then there's also the don't believe everything you're foretold moment. Love that. So this one's, I don't know. Yeah, this is another one that I always kind of think, meh, but then I watch it and I really enjoy it. And I'm like, look at all these cool things. And
yeah, again, I think mostly, again, it suffers from being a bridge episode, which is and by suffers, I mean is not as memorable for people, but whenever they watch it, they go, "Oh, right, it has that that scene in it." That's pretty common to bridge episodes. Like the Iron Team and Goodbye Iowa have good scenes in them. They're mostly Spike related, but everyone forgets about those scenes because because of the bridge. So, yeah. Anyway, I know what you mean.
Yeah. I was thinking a lot about our desires or what make us human thing. I was curious what you think of that line. I know you said it a little bit in the guides and stuff, but I'm sorry to ask you that on a Benadryl day.
Yeah, that's okay. The I think that I don't know if I agree with that philosophically, but I think that it's interesting how well it foreshadows Wesley's ending. Where in Into the Woods, when he's cleaning up Illyria, and Illyria says, "I'm not what you want," and he says, "There's nothing that I want," because Fred is gone, and the battle for good has been so corrupted by the Gray, and he's personally committed enough heinous acts at this point that he doesn't feel like there's a way back. I think that line is most interesting on that basis. As for sort of a broad philosophical take, I don't know. I think that I desire a lot of things. I desired a boat. That didn't turn out very well for me in my personal life. I desire a van. I desire, I don't know that wanting things. I mean, maybe he's talking about contributions, wanting to contribute, wanting the things that we want or desire to do with our lives. And those desires fuel our choices. And without desires to just do something because it's good or because it's whatever or any of that, it ends up being sort of hollow and rote. Maybe in that sense, then he's talking about passion, having a passion for the things that you do in life and the connections that you have. I don't know. I'm kind of going down a pathway there, but again, I'm not sure that all of that is in the text of that moment.
Yeah. I think I agree. I hadn't thought about how it relates to Wesley. I forgot about his ending thing. That's a good point, that it's a good foreshadowing for his ending. But yeah, especially in relation to Angel and being human as a philosophy, I was watching it and I was like, I don't think I agree with that. I was like, maybe they said that as a way to, I don't know, they were trying to distinguish your usual, I don't know, what makes you human, creating and knowing right from wrong and, make choices and blah, blah, blah. Maybe they were trying to distinguish that stuff from stuff that vampires can do. Oh, but vampires want stuff too. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if he's and that would read for Angel, because if he's emotionally cut himself off because he's concerned that any of his passions will turn into could accidentally trigger the curse, and he's afraid to let himself be happy, then he has no passion for the things that he's doing. He's just doing them because that's the plan. Yeah, so to me, if I were to try and use a broad lens to apply that to everything, it's more about passion for the things that you choose to do. Desire is not just a choice. Desire is a want to make the choice.
Right. Rather than just going through the motions, or just like following the plan and stuff. Yeah.
And 100 people just heard the next lyric of that song play inside their head.
Have to have an impact.
Mind control. You put a thought in their head.
It's my superpower.
Yeah.
Discovered it. Thanks for that. I agree, and you said it probably better than I was thinking it. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this one. Good to see you guys.
All right, good deal. Yeah, we missed you. Glad you're back. Russell, sir, are you there?
Am I here?
Oh, yeah, you're here. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I may have had a few too many Red Bulls beforehand, but I think I'll be okay. We don't need to say any more than that. Tell me about Shanshu in LA, Russell.
Hey, I recommended the Red Bull to you.
You
during the
did.
stream.
You did.
The Shanshu. Where to start with this? And we are completely spoiled, correct?
Yes, completely spoiled.
Perfect. I feel like Vogue actually, or what's his name, Voic or whatever.
Voka?
Yes, Voka. Thank you.
Yeah.
He completed his task. Darla aside, he cut off the connections to the powers that be. They're not there in season 2 when Angel goes dark. They're not there in season 3 during the birth of Connor. They're definitely not there during season 4. And they're not there during season 5 when they take over Wolfram and Hart. I feel like Voka did complete his task by cutting Angel off from the powers that be.
Well, he got rid of the oracles, that's for sure. So a direct or direct ability to converse with them was no longer there. But whoever the source of the visions are, he still has contact with, because the visions are still going through Cordelia.
Yes, but when that thing violates Cordelia, there's no forewarning to Angel whatsoever.
True. Yeah, no heads up. And again, if assuming which again raises a question of the powers that be, and the fact that the powers never, I think it was Callum said that the powers never send a vision about, or very rarely send a vision about the rest of, I was going to say Scooby's Angel Investigations team. Cordy gets one of Gunn in First Impressions, and I'm sure there are other ones, but they're very rare. And she does not get one about herself before essentially being set on fire for the course of a couple of days, which is what we talked about. So they have the ability to send visions about each other, or to send visions about Angel Investigations, and they don't, which again throws their motivations into question.
Exactly. I just found that to be kind of interesting. I thought Vogue actually
Voka, yeah.
Voka succeeded in his mission.
Yeah.
Let's see. One of the things that kind of bothered me between Blind Date and this episode here was a season 5 episode referring to the prophecy, of course.
Okay.
About Spike. And Destiny is the episode I'm thinking of.
Is that the one with the cup?
Yes.
It's Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm watching Fool for Love, and during the flashback sequence in the mine, when Angel and Spike are having a fight, and Angel says, "What happened to your accent?" Darla says to Drusilla, "I think our boys are going to fight." And Drusilla says something about the King of Cups is going to have himself a show. And then Spike and Angel actually fight over a cup in season 5, which, the King of Cups is a tarot card, so that's not necessarily a direct connection, but I just loved that reference to between Fool for Love and Destiny. Anyway, go ahead. Fool for Love script spoiler. I am writing it. Thank you very much.
I'll have to rewatch that. I missed that.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
But where was I?
Sorry I threw you off.
No, you're fine. Oh no, I remember where I'm at. When they're fighting over the prophecy, it's pretty clear that Angel it called to him in Blind Date, and the prophecy is about him, even though it doesn't mention him by name. The technicality, it called to him. Now I have a good friend. She diehard Buffy fan. Not so much Angel, but she's a diehard Buffy fan. She tried to point out to me that that sword, what do you call that? The scythe or whatever.
The scythe, yeah.
Yes. That calls to Buffy, also called the Faith. And she's like, well, maybe it called to Spike too, but there's no evidence of that when they're both in the presence of with Lindsay pretending to be that the Watcher guy, whoever he was.
Doyle.
There was no evidence. Yes,
Yeah.
Doyle. Before Doyle, he was the British Watcher guy.
Oh yeah. You're in Destiny, yeah.
Yeah.
When he was interpreting the books, Spike didn't feel the call, but he was making up that prophecy, which they find out later.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my only reservation with that episode. Destiny was this episode, and Blind Date. The fact that specific scroll and that specific prophecy called out to Angel. I mean, he just wandered up to it. And he's like, I don't know why I took it. I just took it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Like I said, Vogue was one of the main reasons I love this episode. He is probably the most successful demons on the entire series.
Yeah, he really is. He's very effective.
And Lindsay, how dare him?
More specifically, you'll need to be.
I saw him getting his hand whacked off from a mile away. When he's sitting here and he's like, this is foretold, this is blah, blah, blah. He takes the scroll and he points it over at the fire. I saw his hand gone.
You saw, okay, yeah. We were gonna call phrasing on that, but you saw him about to. You could see his hand about to be chopped off before it actually happened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Cordy was in the hospital. Wes was in the hospital. His office was blown up. You expect Angel to be nice about this?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too that Angel doesn't go for the kill. I'm not sure how accurate Lindsay would have been in repelling a spinning scythe with that cross, but his hand feels like a much smaller target than the rest of his body. I'm not sure if we make anything of Angel's choice to not attack him directly, other than the fact that Lindsay is human, and there is a very blurry, vague line on when it's okay to kill a human and when it's not. But as of right now, it's not. So I suppose that I answered my own question.
Well, that brings up a point. You asked me a question in the last stream. Was it wrong for Angel to, since this is a spoiler of season 2?
Yeah.
Was it wrong for Angel to lock up a room full of lawyers with Darla and Drusilla?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question for season 2.
I apologize it takes a week for me to actually think about this, but the answer is yes, it is wrong.
I think the show would agree with you.
He acted out of vengeance. There was no moral cause there. There was no immediate danger there. He acted completely out of vengeance. But like I told you last week, by the time we get into season 2, Angel has gone to a place he has never gone before. And the writers deliberately did that. They wanted Angel to go dark, but not Angelus. And they said as much in the commentaries.
Yeah, I think I get the intent of that scene. I just think it's interesting. When I asked you that question 2 weeks ago, there were a number of people in chat who said they didn't think it was wrong that Angel did what he did. Which I think is fascinating about that choice. And I mean, Angel is all about the gray. So the fact that, that choice is so controversial or debatable in terms of its right or wrongness, I think is really interesting. And something I'll have to address when we get to that episode specifically.
Of course. And you also brought up Willow and Warren. Willow acted out of passion, and in a legal sense she could get away with that. It was a act of passion.
And Angel's was very cold.
Yes, Angel was very plotted revenge. And like I said, I think what Angel did was wrong. What Willow did, I think she acted on emotion more than anything, and I think she would get a more free pass because of it. But
it's interesting, the chat even now. It's not wrong, but it's not right, and that's the more moral importance. It's a room full of lawyers.
The other question you asked, it took me a while to think about. Did Angel do good by killing a room full of lawyers?
Specifically for Wolfram and Hart, yeah.
Yes. The game hasn't changed. The players have.
Okay, say more.
So just because you eliminated Holland Manners, and even if you were to eliminate Lila and Lindsay, which they didn't, but let's just hypothetically say you eliminated them, Wolfram and Hart's got another team of jerkish lawyers who are A, scared to death of the senior partners, which is a separate conversation, and B, have their own personal agenda going to fight against Angel. The game hasn't changed anything.
Yeah.
So, no, he didn't do a greater good. All he did was change the players by shutting that door. And I love the dead Holland and Angel scene in that elevator when Holland explains to him the nature of that game.
That's a wonderful scene.
So I wanted to come back to that and kind of answer you. It took me a while to think about it and digest it a little bit, but I hope that's okay.
Well, bud, I've been working on the Fool for Love script for 5 weeks, so yeah, you take the time you need. It takes time.
But I like the Shanshu in LA, and I like Blind Date. You said something today during our rewatch in the Facebook that you consider Judgment to be the final act of the trilogy. I'm not a fan of Judgment. I hate to break that to you. I will sit in the YouTube stream and let other people who have more productive things to say in the Patreon Hangout. But I'm just not a fan of
it. Just
Judgment.
seems to, yeah. What I said in the rewatch was that to me, the redirect that they're currently doing takes 3 episodes. And the last one is Judgment. It's Blind Date, this one, and Judgment. And then you get Are You Now or Have You Ever, which feels to me like the actual season premiere of season 2. As opposed to kind of, and it's not a Buffy episode 7 kind of deal. You know, The Freshman very much feels like a premiere and feels like a premiere. There's something about Judgment to me that feels more of season 1 of Angel than season 2, but it's a very subjective feeling that I was trying to share. Are You Now just has a vision for what season 2 is, and there's a little bit of it in Judgment, but there's also a little bit of it in Blind Date and a little bit of it in the one before that.
I just feel Judgment is a little clunky. Have you ever been is like gold to me.
Yeah, but I mean, we've said that the thing that that sort of nebulous clunk that everyone is kind of expressing about this episode is also kind of the nature of bridge episodes, where they're bridging from into the next iteration of the show. And Buffy had lots of bridge episodes in Buffy season 4 where, you know, it's not bad. They're perfectly entertaining. They're just kind of moving the pieces to get to the end game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your schedule is like, but I know in 2 weeks you're going to do Restless, or next week Restless. I am going to sit on the sidelines for Restless. About the only question I have for the group, and you guys can feel free to answer it next week or whatever, or in 2 weeks, is one about Willow and It's not really a question. It's just more of a comment.
Okay.
That door opening from Becoming Part 2, her experimenting with deep magics,
Yeah.
her doing the spell in Primeval, hence Restless, to her bringing Buffy back and, say, bargaining. Is this a pattern that's kind of building up? I mean, I guess I really haven't. I've done my rewatch of Buffy. I have a shameful confession to make. I have skipped Angel for this. I am doing just I'm in season 6 right now. I started chatting about it in your Facebook and other Facebook pages, and I was like, I don't need to talk about this. I'm just going to watch it. And I'm all the way up to season 6. I did watch season 4 with season 1 because of all the heavy crossovers. But really, after that, Angel is its own show, so I can go back to that at any point in time.
My favorite rewatches of both shows have occurred when I just watched them front to back without going back and forth. That's me personally, but I've enjoyed Angel the most when I watched it consecutively instead of the back and forth, because they're so tonally different. But I've heard differently from other people, so it's really kind of a personal thing where you end up on that spectrum.
Absolutely. So, as far as Shanshu, I love it. I love Blind Date. Those are probably two of my favorite standalone episodes of the entire series. Eternity's great, and Prodigal's great, and Somnambulist is great.
Yeah, the back half of season 1 is really strong. I'll admit though that it elevated for me quite a bit writing about it and watching it critically than just sort of my initial watching for entertainment run through of the series. I don't know why that phenomena works the way that it does, but specifically Somnambulist and the Prodigal for me got a lot better the more time I spent thinking about them.
Oh yeah, speaking of Prodigal in this episode,
yeah,
Kate. And it's probably already been said. I've been cooking during the time some of you guys have been chatting, so forgive me if I'm repeating something somebody already said.
Okay.
Kate is such a, I hate to use the word, witch.
Okay.
Towards Angel in this episode, and I love his response. You want to be enemies? Try it.
Yeah, that's a great bit of their exchange. I'm happy I love her. I'm happy we're not pretending we're to be friends anymore. They both have good lines in that exchange of words in that scene. I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just feels like we've been here with Xander a little bit. Just the same sort of just. There's no reason to be, and the Xander justification was his best friend died in the pilot. He was only in one episode. Come on. I mean, I get her dad is a little bit more of a motivator, but yeah.
But at least with Xander, he cloaked his feelings because he had emotions for Buffy, so he was jealous.
Yeah, that's the way I always read Xander.
Here, Kate should have been smart enough, especially as a police officer, to understand the difference between good and evil at this point. She might not understand the difference between demon and person, but she could understand the difference between good and evil. And everything that Angel has done up to this point has been in honor of good.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a pretty clean record to this point, including trying to save her father and the various and sundry. By the way, I have to apologize. Can you guys hear this cat meowing in the background here?
I don't.
All right, good. Then we can ignore her the way that I have been. Someone wants to be let out.
Is good.
Yeah, she's very sweet. Well, is there anything else you want to throw out about Shanshu, Russell?
Nope, I think that's everything. I'll go ahead and mute myself.
All right, bud. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Paul! Hello!
Hello.
Hello, haircut brother. How are you doing?
I'm alright. I thought I would renew my lockdown haircut today.
Yeah. Well, we missed you the past couple. Everything going okay?
Yeah, not too bad.
All right, good deal.
I didn't have a lot to say on those episodes, so
totally fine.
Yeah.
Well, to Shanshu and just sort of general wrapping up of Angel Season 1, how did it go?
Yeah, I enjoyed this episode when I watched it again today. A lot of people have said things I've agreed with. I think it was a pretty decent season finale. You know, you can look back at the time and think that the effects and stuff and the makeup and the whatever are not that great, but I think it played quite well at the time from what I remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of parallels. We've been critiquing the fight, and Hannibal Season 2 begins with a fight that is pretty incredible. I was just kind of reaching for choreography and sequences and so forth, but it's a different era of TV now. I'm trying to think of from that particular era.
I've been it's not that era, but I've been binging Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and catching up. And boy, they do good fight choreography on that show.
Do they?
Yeah, like I never thought of myself as someone who cared about that stuff, but then I saw it and I thought, okay, this is a different level to what they did on Buffy and Angel, which is, you know.
That's interesting. I have a few friends going through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Right now.
Yeah, it's very interesting comparing it to the other Whedon shows, given that it's got that Whedon influence, but it's a different.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't his brother one of the showrunners, Jed Whedon?
It's his brother and his wife who are the main showrunners. So, yeah. Hot take: there's a season 6 episode called Inescapable, which is better than Restless. Just put that out there.
Okay.
It's kind of dream sequence type thing. But back to Shanshu. So David Nabbit. First of all, I wonder why he's in the episode, because they don't do anything with him. But then I feel like you've got Kate, you've got him, you've got Gunn, and they all just pop up and sort of say, "Hello, I still exist in this universe," and then go again. So I kind of wonder, and at least 2 out of those 3, we know were meant to be more ongoing characters, and it never worked out. So I wonder whether they were just literally having them check in and just to show that they were part of the world.
Yeah, I misused the word posthumous appearance of the big bad in the episode guides quite a bit when I think I was looking for the word perfunctory appearance of the big bad in, like, for instance, Spike in Halloween in season 2. But yeah, some of those appearances feel a little bit like that in this one.
Yeah. Sorry, Boris is saying inexcusable things in chat, but anyway. I think the thing I thought about the David Nabbit scene was like, and I think somebody mentioned this in chat, I think it might have been Russell, but they're so mean to him. I mean, the guy just wants to hang out, and they all just sort of stand there and like give him the silent treatment until he leaves.
Well, you especially think Wesley.
Can no one make small talk? I mean, even if they actually want him to leave so they can get on with something, you know, there are ways of easing him out the door politely, but they just know. Let's just stare into space until he gets uncomfortable and leaves.
Yeah, let's let the silence cook him in his cape so that he has to is boiled and has to run out. I agree.
And this in an episode where one of the things I really like about it, you know, is the whole, you know, focus on found family and relationships and all that stuff. But, you know, so it was a jarring note. I mean, I could see the comedy in it, but I couldn't it's sort of like you did all that just for that joke. That's weird. What else? I mean, all my notes are like kind of little things because overall I liked the episode. I thought Voka was very good. I wasn't put off by his dress or anything. He's very efficient, so that he just achieves things. I think that would have been annoying if he was more than a one-shot villain, but it was good in that episode. It kind of made me think something this time, which is because so he exists as a means to be the thing that brings Darla back. So it kind of, when you know where that's going a little bit, it kind of makes you wonder about. It kind of makes you wonder whether.
Sorry, Paul.
Sorry, I'm my brain is not doing very well.
Well, it's late and we threw you off there. I apologize.
Yeah. I just think it's kind of like bringing in a heavy hitter, and therefore does this, and it being the does it justify the sort of where they're going with it? Like, what was the plan? Somebody in Wolfram and Hart sat down and thought, what can we really do to undermine Angel? Like, let's bring Darla back.
I think
it's sort of like, surely there are other monsters or things that they could have done that would be more terrifying than that. And I get that from the world of making a TV show perspective, it's a good idea.
Well,
but it seems like an odd thing to put all this weight behind. Like, we've got to summon the thing, who's got to do the thing, who's got to get the scroll, who's got to do the thing.
I remember having a reaction similar to yours when I watched the season 4 the first time, which was that when you talk about the Beast, we're bringing the Beast back, and bringing Angel down to us. I love the idea of, they knew they wanted to bring Angel dark without bringing back Angelus in season 2, which I think is a fascinating exploration. But I too felt like Darla, while interesting, felt slightly anticlimactic for all of the hubbub that was around bringing her back, because she's not a beast. She's not this monstrously powerful, ridiculous. If anything, compared
she's
to
not even a vampire at this stage.
Compared to the Voka in this episode, we've seen what Darla can do, and up to this point, it was I forgot how I described her in the Lispy Two Guns vampire Darla, who died on the floor in season 1 of Buffy. Not a huge threat. We now, in hindsight, look at this episode in a different way than we did the first time through the series. But the first time through the series, she wasn't really an awe-inspiring threat. So while it was kind of curious and interesting, I too had a sense of, oh, that was what they were doing? Okay, well, let's see where this goes, as opposed to,
I think I was happy to see her come back, because she felt like a character that had gone too early, but...
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Especially with the flashbacks that they used with the prodigal, showing her, like they had started to do the work of making Darla more interesting. But again, when you talk about the Beast, and then it's Darla, it was a little bit of and now in hindsight, I just think of that moment as the retcon in action, which another conversation we have to have at some point is, okay, there's evidence for the retcon, but is retcon storytelling satisfying? Which is which is a different and longer question. Yeah.
Yeah. I threw a massive fit on the internet the day that came out. But anyway.
You were ahead of the curve then. Now people throw massive fits on the internet all the time. Good job.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, what's with Voka going and killing the oracles and then just randomly leaving a scythe behind? Why would you do that? Why would you not take it with you? Because Angel needs a weapon that he can fight you with.
Yeah.
It's a bit convenient.
The retcon.
It's a bit bizarre.
Yeah, there goes
maybe
the problem with retcons.
It's just so confident. I Also, I felt bad for Lindsay. He kept getting the blame for things he had no control over. Like Angel turns up when in the middle of the ritual, and Holland is like, Lindsay? Like, what am I supposed to have done? I forgot my angel repellent.
Yeah, exactly.
What was I supposed to have done? But yeah, what else was I going to say about this episode? I mean, obviously, the heart of it is the Shanshu. And so here's an interesting question: do you think that when they wrote this, they already that they were going to throw it away eventually?
What do you mean, throw what away?
Throw away the Shanshu.
No, so
go back on the idea of
thematically.
Go back on the idea of reward is why you fight.
Right. I think that it was intended to be not a false flag. What is that called? A I don't know
Red
if they no a finish line. Like the idea of a finish line to me runs contrary to what the show suggests redemption is. Redemption is a state of being, to live redeemed, to carry the lessons of all of your mistakes and all the things you did into every decision you make going forward. And there is no finish line. He's never going. Forgiveness might be a finish line, but redemption is something different. At least to me, when it comes to
did they know that back then? That's the
I don't know. I think that.
I mean, I don't either. There are a number of points during the show, and I would argue, even Epiphany is one of them, where they make a bold statement of like philosophical purpose, and then immediately go back on it. And I wonder whether this is one of them.
Well, Angel repeats its lessons quite a bit. I think that there is maybe it's in Blind Date, is where they talk about the idea of the finish line, and then Judgment again. He's got the board, and Angel's thinking of the scoreboard, and Angel's thinking about getting a gym membership when he turns human. And then at the end of the episode, he says it's not about the finish line. We shouldn't be keeping score. And then again, that ends up being the lesson in Epiphany. And the way that I've sort of made peace with the repetition of the lessons in Angel is that, adulthood, there are lessons that we learn 50,000 times. Every time I think a script, I've got this script thing being full-time YouTuber down, the next script comes along and kicks me in the behind, right? So it's like it's this constant battle of the next moment, staying present, working on the thing, so forth. But I mean, in answer to your question, whether or not they had that plan for the scroll here, as of Judgment, the next episode, I think it's in place. Where that episode sets up kind of the arc of that half of Angel season 2, and then the nature of his relationship with redemption is something that he repeats over and over again until he renounces it at the end of the series. But I do think renouncing it was inevitable past a certain point.
Yeah, it occurred to me watching this time that like it's a nice thing to put on the end of an episode, and maybe even on the end of a season. But I don't feel like they were really committed to it. And I know that they changed their minds of things like that. But the Cordy being a higher power one comes to mind as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just interesting. And plus, I've got a lot of sympathy with what Josh said about. Sorry, not Josh. When he said, like, well, he's already done that, so what? So, like, if that's supposed to be his reward, well, he had that in I Remember You, and it didn't go so well. So
his happy ending.
So why is he suddenly motivated by it?
Yeah. I don't know.
Sorry.
No,
sorry,
go ahead. Go ahead.
That just reminded me of the other thing that stuck out to me in watching this episode, which is Wesley's little donut speech, about wanting things. There's a fascinating little dynamic that happens there,
where he eats for will to live.
Well, yeah, that too. But he comes in and he's doing all this sort of hypothetical musing and saying it's terrible that Angel doesn't want anything, and did you see the way he reacted when we said he was going to die, and it's what we want that makes us what we desire makes us human, and all this kind of stuff. And you have this back and forth with Cordelia, and Cordelia keeps saying yeah, but, and then it gets a point where they switch because she becomes convinced. And then he suddenly starts giving a sort of negative thing of saying, well, yeah, but he can't change, he can't grow. Those are all things that he can't do. He almost says it's almost like he's doomed. But then by that stage, he's fired Cordelia up enough that like she's now committed and she's going to go out and buy him art supplies. But I just found it really fascinating that. I mean, what it says about Wes, apart from anything else, and maybe the sort of fatalistic streak that he has, that he sort of stirs up this thing, but then sort of says, "Oh, but there's nothing we can do about it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see what you're describing. I don't really have a call on that one way or another.
No, I don't know if I do. I just noticed it this time watching it. It was yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a good episode, and I had never heard of the movie To Live and Die in LA. So when I watched the episode the first time around and came off and went onto the internet to see what people were saying about it, and everyone said, well, of course I knew what Shanshu meant because of the title. And I was like, huh? But
I actually had never heard of the movie until Jack mentioned it today.
Okay.
I had only heard of the Tupac song, which is in the video itself, but that was the way that I had heard of it.
But you'd heard the phrase "To Live and Die in LA."
Yeah, from that song.
Yeah. So I didn't know that was a thing, but so yeah, that's me. I think
if there's any songs about Birmingham, I haven't heard of those either. So maybe it's an across the pond kind of thing. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, bud. Maybe. Well, I appreciate it. Let's. By the way, we are right at 7, so we're at the 2 hours here. But we had some latecomers, so I'm going to hang in. But if anyone needs to drop, by all means, let me go over to Boris, and then I'll go to Brian. Boris, hello, sir. Hello, and welcome to your Patreon Hangout.
Yay. Yeah.
Oh. Boris.
I kind of have complicated feelings about. Pardon?
You started breaking up there when you moved the computer. Don't move the computer again. But go ahead. You have complicated feelings about this?
Yeah, because there's stuff in here I like a lot, thematically and junk, and there's good setups for later on. But yeah, I don't know. As a narrative, it's kind of I guess there's a lot of topics so we can bounce around, I guess. It seems weird to me to have another villain introduced in this when you already have 3 other villains. We have we just introduced Holland last episode. Do you think that would be enough? But we got to bring this masked dude in who's just kind of casually walking around and stuff.
Yeah, in a world where magic exists, couldn't any of the lawyers have used spells to accomplish the thing that the Voca got done in this one? I mean, we wouldn't have had someone for Angel to scythe fight with at the end of the episode, but yeah, it's an interesting question.
Well, I was thinking Lindsay could have been the guy because we even see him do magic stuff in season 5 a little bit. But even just it would have been kind of more of a personal thing because he was there in the first episode of the season, and he seemed like he was gonna maybe possibly turn to the good side or at least ditch the evil side at some point. And so there's kind of this personal beef. It's how could you do this, Lindsay? You suck. And,
yeah, it's interesting now that you pointed out the Voca. To me, the more I think about it, feels a little superfluous to the episode itself, where if you had Lindsay driving the conflict of the entire episode, you had an opportunity there to develop his commitment to the cause and for the drama that might have. I like that. I actually, now that you pointed that out, I kind of feel like maybe the episode would have been more interesting without the Voca.
Yeah, like, and it could have even justified him being inside like Angel Investigations, and like maybe they don't know that he took the job again, and he could have like sneaked in, done stuff. Like it would have added that like personal touch. Like, gotta get that revenge.
Yeah, just don't have Cordy read the article that he got promoted, and let him, be a spy for one or the other in the next in this episode, and keep everything else the same.
Yeah, like that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, just get rid of that article, which wasn't entirely needed. And like, and again, and you wouldn't even necessarily have had to kill Lindsay, because cutting off his hand is pretty good. Like, that's some good vengeance. Which I do love that ties into the connection thing, because like now that. Because like rather than it being like a personal connection with Angel, now it's like we're gonna physically cut off Lindsay's hand for some good karma, and I like that.
That's interesting. His ability to connect with the group is now both physically and emotionally removed. That's me always looking for metaphors in everything, of course. But yeah, go ahead.
Kate. Yeah, I like to defend Kate, but like I don't think she was very well used in this episode. I believe. Oh, Blake Paul is gone. So
yep.
So yeah, like with Kate, it's like at least with Sanctuary or whatever, like I could kind of get her beef with Angel more, because like he was harboring a fugitive. You're not supposed to do. They're like a vampire slayer. So like like I understand like why she was kind of more against him there, because like he was obviously doing something pretty questionable. Even Buffy was like, "Don't do this, man. It's not a good idea."
Yeah, the Sanctuary stuff from a Kate perspective is a little more justifiable. I don't know about giving him a room with sunlight exposure, but
I mean, that was probably more of a threat. Like she probably figured he'd break at some point.
Yeah.
Like I don't think she was like, she's not like, I mean, if she wanted to kill him, she probably could have found a way at some point. But
yeah, Unshelled Pity says Kate was there to add to the stress. I feel like that's Kate's role going forward, is stakes propellant, for lack of a better term, to just kind of keep the energy of the episode, to keep things dangerous, to keep she's the chase scene built into every episode. Which doesn't serve her character particularly well, but for the sake of the energy of the episode.
I mean, I could kind of see that, but I don't feel like they really used her like particularly well, as far as like, because like the first scene she's in, she's just kind of like, "I'm just here to remind you I'm mad at you, Angel, and you shouldn't be doing what you're doing." And then like she comes in after the place blows up, and like the only real advancement in the relationship is that Angel has that like kind of speech, like, "Hey, I'm not cool with you treating me like this. We can be mad now." And like one thing, what something you could have maybe done to like give her more to do is like maybe her and Angel, like Angel comes to Kate at some point later in the episode. It's like, okay, you know what? We got our differences, but like there's a lot of evil stuff going on with Wolf from Heart. Let's team up and kick some ass. That would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
I kind of thought Gunn was supposed to be in that position, like, because the last time we rewatched it, like, I just had that. I thought that's what happened in my head, but apparently not. Gunn was kind of there to protect Wes and Corey. Though it would have been maybe nice if he had been there in the final scene with them when they're doing the spell. Like that could have been kind of nice.
Yeah, but I mean, as a very, very late addition, it's interesting the things he is and is not present for.
Yeah, like they could have done more with that possibly, but it's good that he's here at least. So just send that up. Oh, I guess because we were talking about Kangel at some point, I feel like with Kangel, it's one of those relationships where like you feel like like if it happened, it's like it's not a bad thing, but like it definitely feels like one of those ships where like the writers are just screwing with you, because it's just like we know you guys like we're not actually going to commit to it in full. Like, we'll give you little teases, but we're not going to actually like. And there's a ship in Agents of Shield. It's kind of like this too.
I kind of feel I kind of feel like you just described every romantic relationship on Buffy and Angel.
That's true. But
Becoming Part 2, Angel comes back for just a minute. Entropy, can we just skip it? Can you just be kissing me now? Every relationship on the show has that element of to where I feel like it becomes a hallmark.
Although it feels like with this one in particular, because they never really get like together for like a particular like definitive period. Because even with like Wes and Fred, like they at least had like that time between Smile Time and A Hole in the World to be together. Like at most, like Angel and Corey maybe like kiss and that's it, and it's a nice kiss, but like that's all that it really gets to be. It's kind of the tragedy of that relationship is that like they could have been something nice, but they couldn't quite get together, unfortunately.
Yep.
And,
if only he'd spoken his mind.
I don't know like how I would have felt if it had been a long-term thing, but like I don't mind. I don't hate it. It's just kind of there. Like I don't like it would have been. Oh.
No, yeah, you're coming and going, but it's not as bad as other times when you've been talking. We're getting most of it.
Yeah. So like, it's one of those things where like, it's probably better if that relationship was more platonic, but I'm not against it being a thing. But like, I don't know, it exists, I guess.
Yeah, I think with many of these conversations, including ones of representation and stuff like that, is it's not on the show to fix the cliches or problems when it comes to storytelling across different mediums, and nor should it be. It's just when we have a critical conversation about these things, we have a conversation that both talks about the show and about sort of the use of cliche or trope or stereotype or any of that stuff in a broad sense, understanding that that's too much pressure to put on one show or one writer's room to cure the ills of so on and so forth. But it's just frustrating when you see, oh, there's another whatever. There's another pretty couple that ends up hooking up for 2 episodes and then they don't know what to do with them, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, not one of my other notes was that like I feel like Wolfram Hart definitely dropped the ball when they just like left Lindsay there. They decide that like everyone needs to be dragging this box, and I'm like, I don't think Darla's that heavy, guys. Like you could probably it's on wheels. You can get like 2 get Lindsay because he has the scroll. You don't want to leave him behind. Like come on.
Yeah, I
like,
think she weighs less than one of the wheels. On the box is all I'm saying.
Well, I don't know if that box is just really heavy, but I feel like they could have like spread their forces out, but just like get Lindsay out of there,
Yeah.
Like they just ditched his ass. I guess that's it for like the general notes. I feel like a lot of the conversations kind of been had, and there was some good stuff.
Well, we're over, bud. So if there's anything else, just throw it out real quick.
I added some, to add on to this. Basically, as far as like finales of Angel goes, like this one's kind of somewhere in the middle for me. Like, and just in general, like I don't feel like the Angel finales, and partly because maybe it's because they're not as building to the main point as much, but maybe like setting things up for whatever reason. Like they're not quite as solid, consistent as, unfortunately. Like I feel like the best ones are Home and Not Fade Away, personally, just because I feel like it helps that they're a little more conclusive, but also just feels like there's just some clever writing going on for whatever reason.
Yeah, Not Fade Away is spectacular, but I mean, in terms of closure, I'm not sure it provides. Russell's not a fan. I'm not sure it provides closure that people are looking for. It's a controversial episode for sure.
There's definitely like a lot of just scenes that really flow and like.
Yeah, Angel seasons are split seasons, even up to season 5. So, which Buffy wasn't doing for sure. If anything, Buffy's split kind of feels like it happens at the beginning, of the season, where that beginning is to resolve all the stuff that was going on from the previous finale, and then episode 7 really gets the arc of the season going. Fool for Love, for example, which I've been spending a lot of time thinking about. Anyway, is there anything else you want to throw out about that one?
Maybe not. As for Angel season 1 in general, like it's a good first season. Like there's definitely like kind of ups and downs, but like I think it does help that because it does have that spin-off-ness, like you have that goodwill from Buffy, and
there's a little bit of that.
The characters in interesting ways. They like the crossovers are neat. Like it's a good time, you know. Like I feel like it's a little underrated.
Nothing wrong with an experiment.
And looking forward to Restless. It is not. It is better than Inescapable. Don't listen to late Paul, even though he's not here to defend himself right now. I'm telling you.
2
Restless
weeks.
is
2 weeks. We're gonna do it in 2
I
weeks.
vote next week, but you know what? I guess Restless is great. We'll talk about it at some point in the future.
All right, bud. Sounds good. Brian. Hello.
Hello.
Last
this is
but
Alina O'Connell.
definitely not least. Okay.
Yeah, long-time commenter, first-time videoer. I'm in the Facebook groups and things. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, cool. Thanks for hanging out and having me on, even though I popped in later.
Well, hold on. Do you go by Alina or Brian? I want to make sure I get it right.
Alina. I don't know why it says Brian. I don't.
Oh, that's okay.
You don't like The Wish?
Oh, I love The Wish.
Oh, you said like something like, the only good part, one of the good parts about The Wish. I'm like, oh no, I love that episode.
The Wish is tremendous. I brought it up in reference to Charisma Carpenter's performance in that one sequence. Yeah, The Wish is great. Gingerbread, on the other hand, which is part of that trilogy of episodes.
Exactly.
Yeah, not one of my favorites, but The Wish is tremendous.
So I have more just questions or points, not general thoughts like the other commenters. And hello, everyone. It was nice to finally interact with you in a slightly more personal version than Facebook. That I read somewhere on the internet that feeling all the pain in the world, that Willow felt all the pain in the world in season 6 when Giles' coven gives it to her.
Yeah.
And her choice is then to destroy the world, whereas Cordelia feels all the pain in the world and her choice is to help them.
That's a great connection.
I didn't come up with it, but yeah, it's what are Kate's motivations for being this shitty?
Dad died.
Like it's just like grief and kind of misplaced anger, like frustration at him being a vampire.
Yeah, I've been trying to think of an appropriate, and I stress the word appropriate, parallel for her behavior, which feels very discriminatory. Where she talks about his kind and his type or whatever. But the closest parallel I can think of is your dad gets eaten by a bear, so you want to kill every bear on Earth, including bears in captivity and zoos and, actor bears or whatever. It's like, there's a bit of an overreact. Like, we get it. That bear was that took your dad was terrible, and he's gone. So the broad reaction to all bears feels a little strange to me. Is all I'm saying. A conflict vending machine, I think, is what my friend Lonnie refers to Joyce as in some Buffy episodes, and Kate definitely feels that way here.
I definitely agree with you and what a couple of the other commenters were saying, that Darla, Angel season 2 versus Buffy season 1 are vaguely the same character. Like you can see like threads that they're supposed to be the same character. And it's kind of not fair to hold that against, the creators, the Joss Whedon, that you didn't know in season 6 of this mid-season replacement that this big character was going to go on and have a bigger role on it spinoff several years ago. But it is one of the things where I'm like, those don't make sense. There's maybe like one or two outfit choices, Sarah, you and your costumes in Angel season 2 when she becomes a vampire. When you're like, okay, maybe she would wear a schoolgirl outfit with bangs, but otherwise, it's like those aren't the very different characterizations. Um, so the oracles, uh, it sounds like from your video, it's like they're just better off dead. So are they just the what is their purpose in this? Just to like Angel gets a clue and then he goes to them to decipher a clue, and do we only see them in I Will Remember You and Now? Is that the only
I will remember you. Isn't there
when
another instance of them?
I
No. Parting
parting
gifts.
gift?
Yeah.
Okay.
One door closes, another door opens.
The so are they just that having to fill a quest to get to the bigger goal? Like, is it better that they're dead and then that they're out of the picture, and that um the gang just gets better at recognizing clues?
Again, I
Um,
think they served the episodic structure a little better, but in terms of, but to me, there's a very, I point out the abruptness of the departure felt very similar to the Anointed One in season 1, where a lot of the writing is experimentation, and some experiments are doomed to failure, I would think. And so there's a reading of them mythologically with all of the Oedipal stuff and the Greek stuff that they were doing with the show that I am not versed enough to explain how they were supposed to fit into all of that. But beyond that, to me, the drama becomes more insular. It becomes more driven by the relationships within the team rather than by plot. It becomes much more character driven, and plot sort of becomes secondary to that, where that felt maybe less so early on. But that's again my reading of it. I think it's only the writers know for sure. I love the way Spike disposes of the Anointed One in the second season, but it does feel like, aha, we got it right this time. Spike and Drusilla, as opposed to tiny vampire of the corn type character.
I'm doing a rewatch with a friend, and we just watched School Hard last night, and then I'm showing her your videos, and then I watched Shan after she reacts, and you both use the same word to describe the Master season 1 vampires: bland. That you say that they're bland, and then Shan's like, I like them. The other guys are bland,
Yeah.
and it's that it was a taste in the mouth that we all collectively felt.
Well, he's the first character on the bad guy side, right? The Master
Yeah.
had, I think a lot of what the Master does that's fun is driven by that actor whose name escapes me presently. What do you think about a 9.3 when he's talking about that he feels delightful in the Mark Metcalf? Thank you. He feels like he's having a lot of fun within that role, but he still doesn't feel quite like a character. Spike and Drew feel like characters on the bad guy side, which you love to see, like Lindsay.
And what was the point? And Paul mentioned this. What was the point of the Nebbit scene? Was it to tease him as a person, like a future recurring character, or was it just filler? Or did it show some contrast that their crazy lives are versus a mundane normal person exists? Like,
Sure. Yeah.
like how different would these shows, Buffy and Angel, look like if they were made today for Netflix or HBO, where you could, I mean, gosh, now HBO, that would be completely different, right? That'd be like True Blood, but where you could change the episode length, change the number of episodes per season, and not have to have so many filler episodes or candy episodes or how did you put it? Like breath freshener episodes, something like that, like a
Yeah, didn't I use that for Guys Will Be Guys, I think.
breather. Yeah.
Breather episodes, yeah. I would actually feel like that. I miss episodes like The Wish, for instance, which wipes itself away except for Anya at the end of that episode. The consequences of that episode, except for Anya, which is a wonderful consequence, but not, who knows if that was intended at the time, get wiped away. And I would miss the fact that it seems like a lot of shows are now going the Breaking Bad 12 episode route. To me, where it's one continuous story, makes me sad, because Buffy's a wonderful Buffy and Angel are wonderful hybrids of that style, where there are consequences to the perfunctory big bad appearances, but those individual one-off episodes are so much fun and experimental, as opposed to one giant arc.
And shows like Burn Notice and X-Files also have that. You have the mythos episodes, you have the arc episodes, and then you have the stuff in the middle, the just really fun.
Yeah.
You just want to put it on without any continuity. And I don't know if it's fair to look at it. So this is a question, is to look at the season 1 finale and then draw conclusions or try to see foreshadowing for season 4 and Jasmine and Connor in this prophecy, or any of that. Do you think so? Like the Voca and the prophecy trying to cut off Angel from the powers that be.
Okay.
We later find out that Jasmine is a contributing influence in the powers that be. Um, it's just fun to try and tie it all together, anyways.
Yeah, I think.
So,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your question.
Oh no, just I mean, that's why I raised the point to get you and the rest of the peeps' opinions. Is they were trying to get the powers that be to not influence Angel, but we know Jasmine was like, no, I totally need to be meddling. I need to create myself and create Connor.
Well, was she a fallen power? I think was the explanation for Jasmine trying to manifest herself into power that was. Yeah, okay, I like that. So you're asking, is that satisfying?
Is it even fair to try to look at season 4 and find nuggets of truth and foreshadowing in season 1 finale, when who knows if they ever thought they were going to get that far, or if, like, does Shanshu, and here's my little headcanon, did Shanshu mean Angel will make a human like Connor?
Oh, interesting.
So that's been my little. Is that fair? Does that even make sense? Did anyone even think that was going to happen?
Probably not, but I think again that gets to the nature of the intention. Does intention matter? And if, for the purposes of our discussion, when we're talking about these shows as completed pieces of art, when we look for those connections, I think 99% of the time when we ask ourselves, okay, so the Beast is mentioned in that scene, and if that doesn't refer to Darla, does it refer to the Beast in season 4 and so forth? Probably didn't at the time, but again, who cares? If it's like part of the joy of our fan experience is, finding those new connections and sort of celebrating maybe the connections that they didn't intend. But the what we haven't touched on, and I brought up earlier, is like Angel has a very controversial retcon in season 4 that is massive and has enormous implications on a show that changed showrunners 3 or 4 times over the course of its run. David Greenwald to Tim Minear to someone else, if I remember correctly. Is that satisfying storytelling? Just because they could bring all of those connections together to make them look like they were all intended. We all know they weren't. And my answer is I would rather have a Buffy season 5 or a Buffy season 3 100 times over the retcon in season 4. But would I rather have no retcon and just the hanging threads of what was the Beast? The Beast was Darla? No, probably not. I think that in terms of what was more fun, with messy storytelling, I think they found a way that was a little more fun. If does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To retcon it makes it satisfying in the end.
Sure.
Then the end intention kind of justifies the whatever messy means they had to get there.
They cleaned the room. I would rather they did that than where Buffy sort of never made the room messy. Not true. There are plenty of instances in Buffy where, but Buffy did a better job of cleaning as it went and making sure that the threads were seamless and connected. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate that the retcon was there as opposed to nothing. But of course, the ideal situation is probably something different.
And that's all I had. Thanks, guys.
Cool. I saw Brian and had to look over and see Alina. I have a terrible memory for names, so glad you came, and hope to see you again.
And Russell had his hand up for something Boris said a long time ago, so I don't know if he...
Russell, did you want to add something before we go? A little bit of lag.
Sorry, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Actually, I did, but I can't remember what it is now.
All right, well, no worries. Well, we're going to meet again in 2 weeks.
I will actually sit out Restless for somebody else who might have something more constructive or productive to say about the episode.
All right.
Just because your review, I'm curious. Are you going to be showing the spoiler review or the non-spoiler review?
Oh, I'll be watching the spoiler one. I'll probably start at 4. And I say I'll start at 4 because I know technically some things will go wrong, so I'll be starting at 4:15. And we'll then watch that entire review on stream with anyone who cares to show up. And then at 5, we'll switch over, and whoever wants to have... I love the round-robin dream by dream discussion. The way we might do it is I will hard cut us off at 7, and if we've gotten through 2 dreams, then we'll pick up Restless again in a week. If we get through all of them, then we'll take the break for the end of the season, which is probably just going to be we'll skip 1 discussion and pick it up again with 5-2. So now, yeah. We are not starting next week. 2 weeks, Boris. 2 weeks from today, we'll start on Restless.
I'm curious. Did you say that after Restless, we're going to take some time off from...
we're just going to skip a weekend. 1 weekend, and then we'll pick it back up. So a month from whatever our last Restless day is, we'll start with Buffy 5, Angel Season 2.
Gotcha. I think I probably won't be in the streams until Real Me and Now or Have You Ever Been. So,
and Boris asks if I'm doing an independent stream for the channel's 6-year anniversary, which is this month. The 6-year anniversary of Why You Should Watch Buffy. I don't know. I have like a half-track mind, and all I can think of right now is Fool for Love, and it's ruining my life. I need to finish that video so that I can be me again, and then I'll make the decision.
Poor you. I can't wait till you do Darla as well.
All right, well, we are well and truly over, so let me set everyone free. Everyone in the YouTube stream, thank you for coming. Everyone here, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. We'll see you in 2 weeks for Restless. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Be safe, stay healthy.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.